That's a style, that's a look.
Yes.
But you didn't create that. That's what you was influenced and programmed to. That design is a program. So if you think about designing yourself and being original, you have to be based on who you are, not where you are, right? Because we dress based on geographical location. We dress based on our financials, what we can afford, what we can't afford. And also we dress based on our imperfections, insecurities. We don't want to be seen, we do want to be seen. So like, what about when you get to that point where you're truly free, you fearless, right? You don't care what nobody think, right? And every day you can go out there and be yourself. What would that look like?
Right.
Most people never gonna get to that point in their life where they get to be themselves, openly and expressively. They have to be what's comfortable for the rest of the world when they see it. They have to be this person, this version. I don't want to be judged, right? Like I'm wearing, I got the crown strap, I got the Machiavelli vest and I'm putting that on every time. I don't mind being seen because I'm me. You can look at every part of me and that's me. I'm good. So the idea of plagiarism comes from that fear. Like if I show what I think, people might not like it. If I put on what I want to wear, so I'm gonna look at what everybody else has on and I'm gonna wear that because it's more comfortable to fit in than it is to be yourself and stand out. Yeah. And they keep haunting us by our insecurities. Black people have too many insecurities.
The 19 keys. 19 keys.
I appreciate my pops for teaching me how to be a guy.
From a boy to a man and ultimately back into the natural state of being into a God.
As guys, we're supposed to always move with that higher self.
I have to be able to execute it. Having knowledge is not power, the execution of knowledge is power.
Knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave. Because the only real knowledge you can get is knowledge of self.
The highest level. The highest level is ownership. The highest level is power. The highest level is sovereignty. The highest level is higher consciousness. The highest level is when we own our own culture.
Excellence at a very high level. Appreciate it. Not eye level. A high level. Like that.
It's time for a high level conversation.
We're here for another high level conversation.
19 keys and this is
high level conversation.
Tap in with the God.
Peace family, I'm 19 Keys. Welcome back to another high level conversations. Today we have a difference. Its difference is that we've never had a designer on the show. And design is a language, right? Design allows us to be able to express and create the process of interaction, right? We are able to weave together and fashion what we believe through the way that we style ourselves and showcase who we truly are. Right? Some people don't know the language of how do I show up as who I truly am because we have to fit inside of all of these different boxes. One man may have to wear a suit for his job to show up as professional, but he may be more so, a laid back, chill type of person, and he may want to show up in joggers. So oftentimes we don't get to show up in who we are. We have to reflect the environment, so we have to do it based on survival. And at the same time, when it comes to aspirations, Black people in America are sold brands. Right? We sold these brands that fit to places that we're not supposed to be in. So it feels aspirational for us to buy things, right? After segregation was ended, Black people gave up shopping in their own neighborhoods and made it aspirational and ambitious to be able to afford to shop in white shops, to be able to wear white shoes, clothing, to be in their environments and in their air. Because at first they said that we couldn't be there, and by saying that they were saying that we wasn't worth it, that we was 3/4 of human beings. Now we're at this place to where we at a precipice of seeing Black brands be able to establish themselves in that same aspirational necessity as white brands have always. By seeing Kanye West, him being a brand leader and seeing what happened to Adidas after he left them and they lost billions of dollars. Whether you believe it was intentional or not, it was a masterclass on value. It was a masterclass on evaluation, right? It's a masterclass on the influence that Black influencers, leaders, the culture that we have, period. Meaning that we drive all of the industries. We are the battery pack that gives spirit, we give seasoning to the food, we put it out there, man. We give rhythm to the atmosphere. And when I was thinking about having a good brother on the show, first of all, I have a connection because I used to have a store down the street from his. And you had this process where people would come in there and they would basically go through this journey of graduation, right? To be able to get some of his clothing. And I thought that that was a brilliant, thing that he added into the ritual process of his brand. Anytime you're creating something luxury, you have to first start with quality, right? Meaning, story, branding, psychology. You have to understand product development, design ethos, right? You can't just jump in and say you want to create something. No, you got to get some background, some information, some education, some skill sets surrounding this. Everybody that has tried to design or do fashion has not done a good job, right? Most people fail at it, or most people only reach a certain threshold, and then that's where they plateau. The good brother today, I don't think he has a limit on where this can go. And I say that because as I study his brand, he hasn't even, to me, utilized all of the avenues that he can utilize. For the most part, he has made a multi-million-dollar brand just on Instagram alone. Word of mouth, right? Establishing the characteristics of hip hop, community, celebrity, right? Good style and design. Of course, he makes sure that he reaches all of those things that you needed to be successful. But when I think about the brands and the amount of money that they spend on branding every single year, I'm talking about tens to hundreds of millions of dollars. And he is able to compete in a marketplace. Why? Because it's really a marketplace of creativity, right? The good brother Devin Carter has a great background as being a cosmic creative human being. And by cosmic creativity, I mean that ability to be able to flow and generate the fecundity of ideas. I talk about fecundity a lot, and that's when you can constantly come up with ideas. So no matter who plagiarizes from you, no matter who steals from you, you have something next. So I want to first get into this conversation with the good brother. And the first thing I want to talk to you about, my good brother,
yes, sir,
is the difference between plagiarism and influence.
Okay, perfect. Ooh, I like it. Ooh, first of all, thank you for having me, my brother.
Thank you, being
that was beautiful. That was dope. That was dope. So the difference between plagiarism, right, and inspiration. So for example, you see right now Nike's been suing a lot of companies. I think recently it's just Bape.
Yeah.
So if you look at like the Bape studs, it was an Air Force One with a star with a lightning bolt together.
Sir.
Right? That literally. So when you do fashion, there's things called, like in our shoes, it's a trade dress. So it's the blueprint. So it's what does the shoe look like, black and white, with no logo on it? Are all the patterns the same? Is every line on there the same? If so, then you just plagiarized because all you did was change the name on the homework, meaning you either took the swoosh off and put a lightning bolt or whatever. So that's plagiarism because a company like Nike has that patent, trademark, and now they have it federally protected. This is why they're now going after all these people. Now taking inspiration, for example, the first shoe that ever designed, the one you were talking about when we did the graduation ceremony in the store, gave them the diplomas, was the valedictorian, which I see somebody here has the all red pair there. That shoe was inspired by two different Kanye West shoes. It was the Yeezy 1 by Nike, and it was the Louis Vuitton Dons that he did with Louis Vuitton. And the reason why I picked those two shoes is because around that time, when I was designing the shoe, Kanye was doing his rants where he was on Sway, like How Sway, and then he was doing the rants on concert. And I was like, I don't feel like he feels like he's not getting the proper credit for what he's done. And then when you really think about it, the Yeezy 1, that's the first time Nike gave a rapper a signature shoe as if they were an athlete.
Right.
Nike is still the #1 retailer in the world. Now this is a black kid from Chicago. Rapper, producer, gets a shoe with the #1 retailer, and then the same year he gets the Louis Vuittons. He designs the Louis Vuitton Dons. Louis Vuitton is the #1 luxury fashion brand in the world, still to this day.
Yeah.
One guy from Chicago was able to get partnerships with both in 1 year. That's literally Black history, right? So seeing that, I was like, you know what? I like the strap from this shoe, so I'm gonna take the strap from this shoe. Kind of like the beautiful leathers that Louis Vuitton uses and stuff like that. I like the pleating, so I put those two together. Now, if you hold that shoe to the Yeezy 1, it looks nothing like it. One, it's a low top, right? And then if you try to hold it to a Louis Vuitton shoe, it looks nothing like it because it doesn't really have anything from it. You know, so that's where you take inspiration and create something new. That's how everything in fashion works.
Right.
Because how many times can we make a shirt? What are you gonna do, 24 pockets on it? Somebody's gonna make one with 26.
Right.
It's still a shirt. Right, so it's what can you inspire from out of that to create something brand new, and even with Nike makes football cleats. Adidas gonna make football cleats. Is Adidas or Nike copying each other? No, they're pushing the wheel. They're pushing the wheel. So that's the difference when you come to plagiarism.
You know, when I think about it today, I think most of society is plagiarism today, right? And people, it's unwitting plagiarism.
Okay.
Because a lot of people lack original ideas, right? So originality is uncommon response, right? Doing things differently, right? Than you would commonly see them. What most people are doing is that they're waiting for somebody to do something original, right? So that they can copy it.
That's a fact.
Right? And so look at the TikTok reality, right? One person does a dance, well, I get rewarded if I copy that. So we're rewarded for plagiarism. If I repost this, then I get likes, right?
That's true.
So now we're waiting for the originators, the people who are original, to do something next. Tell me what the next thing is so that I can do it as well.
That happened with TikTok. I remember the black creators,
all
the white kids was copying.
Yeah.
They was like,
and they got tired of that.
We're not gonna create nothing.
And you
we
notice
gonna see
the
what y'all
dances
doing.
ain't viral like they used to.
The dances wasn't happening.
Yeah.
Because the black creators said we're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
You're right. I didn't even think about it like that. Yeah.
Originality is missing today because we're rewarded for plagiarism, right? So when you are original, you taking a risk, right? I'm going to do something that it's not even that it hasn't been done. Sometimes it could be in this time zone it hasn't been done. In the way it hasn't been done, you know, by somebody who looks like me, right? So originality could be many different things. But there's a fear that comes in doing things original.
Yeah.
Every time that I feel like I've had a great success is when it was something I didn't want to put out. And that let me know I should do it because that's the zone one I'm stretching, right? I want to know a bit about your creative process because I talked about the word cosmic creativity, and to me, like I said, that's when you in your flow, right? Skills meets challenge is my definition of flow, right? Let's say if LeBron says, I need you to design me a shoe tomorrow, right? I need you to design me a shoe that's incorporated with all my stats of, you know, the amount of shots that I have, and this is my Hall of Famer shoe, right? I wanted it to represent my career. Number one, that's a challenge. Because you're like, damn.
I think I already just did it in my head while you were talking.
You feel me?
Yeah.
See, that's your flow. Like, I know I got the skills. I know it's a challenge, but right there in between, I can get it done, right? So what's your process, though, when you in flow coming up with ideas?
So, for example, like say if it was something like LeBron's like, that whole thing you just laid out, I would be like, okay, his whole career. I would start going Google first. I'm like, LeBron high school. So I'm looking at high school. LeBron's AAU team. I'm trying to find any videos, every video that I could find of LeBron. Then I'm reading about LeBron. What is LeBron's favorite thing? Some people don't know, like what's his favorite food? Is it tacos or is it not, right? Just different things that I will then take whoever my subject is in that aspect and be like, listen, okay, this is what this person likes. Like the same thing I did with Steph Curry. It's just what they like. I start studying them. They become like my homework. Like if you're a battle rapper, you're studying your opponent to try to say the most stuff you can say about them to make them weaker. But it's the opposite of that. You're just studying them, all the things, all their strengths, what do they like, what's their favorite colors, what's this, and then how to put that together cohesively where it doesn't look like a mess and it looks like aesthetically pleasing. That's like a gift that I've always had since I was a kid. I just always, like we talked about earlier, creator. Always been creative. I used to do music. I used to do art first, drawing, then music. Whatever way, it always was letting something out of my brain to create and get that off, right? So it just depends on what the assignment is. If the assignment is like, for example, say if it's Kyrie, then I'm looking at everything about him. I want to know everything about him. I want to know everything he likes, all of this, and I'm gonna put it together, right? And then I'm gonna present it. Like, let me show you something real quick. This part right here, though, I don't want you to put it on camera, but I want to show you what we just said, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm gonna show you this.
No, cause that
Here we go. Look. So we just talking about. Look at that. We talking about Kyrie, right? Now look at that. Tell me that doesn't say him.
Okay, I see what you did there.
Right. Tell me when you look at that, you think of him.
Yeah,
because I studied him, and I knew what I could do. You know what I'm saying? So
these is hard.
Yeah.
Kyrie, these is hard. That's my boy too. So
yeah, he's good people. He's a great person, man.
And Kyrie's an artist, so you know he like to have input. When I went up to his spot in New Jersey, he had a bunch of these paintings that he did. At the time, like NFTs was blowing up and shit. So I was like, man, you need to sell some of these. But it was at the height of the controversy he was dealing with at first. You know what I mean? But I know for a fact, number one, there's a lot of factors that go into it, right? People have teams, people have a lot of different decisions you want to make, because when you're an independent artist, right, no matter what field it is, you have more responsibility.
Facts.
Right? And so there's less cushion when mistakes are made. It's not on you, right? It's the manufacturer, the supplier, the person you're in contract with. You know, it's much easier. It's like the difference between somebody doing, I was gonna buy an embroidery machine, and I said, do I want to do it or do I want to contract somebody to do it?
Right.
The difference is, if I do it, every time there's a mistake, I gotta pay for it. If I contract somebody to do it, every time there's a mistake, they got to redo it over and still get my order right.
Exactly.
Right? So
Exactly.
those little small nuances of difference matter when you're thinking about business, right? So, you know, ownership, though, at the same time, if I got to think about, can I have my employees get to a point where they're really good at it, and then they have to be passionate about it, or they have to be in a situation where they need this job, right? So running your own operation is a completely different atmosphere, right? But you have stepped out on the ledge of being not only a good creative, but it seems like a good business director at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? And the ability to be able to manage a clothing business. And I don't want to jump too far into that, because we're going to step into that to a second. But the design process, you first talk about, because people ask me, Mike, my process of research. Right? And that's sort of my design process, finding direction first, right? Getting inspiration, right? It's preparing the foundation of where is this going to go, right? It's sort of like gathering a mood board, but being more in depth with it, right? So therefore, now that we established the foundation, right, we can design in this scheme. This is where everything will be pointing towards. And I wanted that to be an important aspect of this conversation, because we don't think about design enough, right? Like, creating your own design DNA, right? It actually makes the job easier when you're trying to scale, because now all you have to do is train people on the way that we design here. It's like a business principles, but having design principles is key. So what are Saya's design principles, and how can a person go about, you know, creating their own if they had to figure out what's my design DNA?
Right, so with me, first and foremost, since I know how to sew, so I taught myself how to sew. Then after I finished the military, I actually went to fashion school to learn, because I always would create stuff I knew, but I wouldn't even know the terminology for stuff that I was doing, because I just knew how to do it. So when I went to sign up for fashion school, they were asking me like, why do you need to be here? You know, like you got a big Instagram following, you make money doing shoes. I was like, well, one, I'm a customizer. At the time I was customizing shoes. And I was like, no, I want to build a brand, right? And I don't know how to do that necessarily to the scaling aspect, right? Because you want to think about like, okay, do you want a little small thing where you're doing t-shirts, sweatshirts, and stuff like that? Or do you really want to leave like a legacy where, you know, like people we've seen come before us, the Diddy's, the Jay-Z's, you know, Russell Simmons. I wanted to do something like that, but I didn't want to do it to that level. But I had to learn those things. I had to learn sourcing, right? So I tell anybody who wants to do a brand, there's things that you already need to start. You need to start studying the stuff. If you want a brand, a real brand, study. But if you just want to hustle, it's different. Anybody can go on Alibaba and see stuff that's already made, and they'll put your logo on it. That's easy, right? But that's not you. That's not how you like to dress, right? You're curving your style to what's already available instead of creating, right? So the first thing I tell everybody, one, you got to be ready to sacrifice. Before I even started like my whole Saya brand, for a whole year, I was just researching manufacturers. I was designing stuff, sending it to them, seeing how long it would take them to get the sample done, then getting the material bag and like, nah, this is cheap. Like I can't. So you waste a lot of time, because a sample process for certain things can be 30 to 45 days plus shipping. So now that's patience. You got to have that patience with these things. Then you also have to know what garments you're doing, right? You got to know what a top weight is. You got to know what a bottom weight is. You try to make some pants and use a shirt material, you're gonna have see-through pants. You have to know that these are differences in fashion. You got to know like I said, your top weights, your bottom weights, your textiles. You got to know if your joint is 100% cotton, if you wash it and dry it, it's going to shrink, because the characteristics of the fabric you're using says that it's going to shrink. Right. And then also knowing your materials, you can't get got. Because one, if somebody tells you my boots is 100% leather and they waterproof, they're lying.
Right.
Because there's no characteristic of leather that says leather is waterproof or water repellent. So you have a synthetic. Most Nike stuff is synthetic. They put a little bit of a mix into the leather, they can say it's genuine leather when it's not.
Can they spray like a compound mix on there that'll make it resistant?
They do have water repellents like Crep Protect. They have stuff like that, but that's not permanent. You got to hit it again. So what happens when that first layer wears off? You told me my boots is waterproof.
Yeah.
Now they're not.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just things like that. I tell everybody, whatever you got to do, if you really about it, you got to study.
Yeah.
We have to get back into studying and reading, which like you were saying with social media, everything is instant access. Nobody wants to do the legwork. I grew up in a time where I was like, Mom, I got to do this report on, Marcus Garvey. And she'd be like, well, you better get the encyclopedia and start with G, Now, you got it on your phone. What did Marcus Garvey do?
Right.
Google, but they don't know that.
There's no process.
And they still won't do it. Now it's easier. I used to have to spin through books, go through pages. You have a phone that literally can tell you any knowledge that you want. All you got to do is type it. They'll go in your comment section and type you a question that if they typed it in
It's
their
Googleable.
Google, if they typed it in Google, they would get
I tell people, don't
answer.
ask me stuff that's Googleable.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's different.
Right.
Like asking a person their perspective on it is different. But the actual thing, the knowledge that you can spend 5 seconds, you telling me you want me to work for you. I'm not your slave.
Exactly. And they don't like that.
Yeah.
Because they think that, especially if you are a public figure, you owe them something.
Right.
Right.
Which is a backwards thinking, because the reason you feel that somebody in the public owe you something because they already gave you something, right? So it's a greed attached to it. Well, you already taught me this, now you should teach me this.
Yeah.
And now if you do something, then you should teach me that for free as well.
Yeah.
So it's like the more you give a person, the more they want. You understand me? So they become spoiled. So I learned, it's not for you, right? And then at the same time, understanding your customers, your segment, because if I create something that's too expensive for you, you're not my target audience.
Exactly.
Right? That's easy. Like I've learned that in life. Like if I see something that I don't like the cost, I was never the target audience intended.
Exactly.
Whoever sees that price and they want it and they have a connection to it and they can afford it, that was the target audience.
Yeah.
So
and
I can't be mad.
Either. They get mad. They say, oh, why your stuff's not cheaper?
Right.
Why you don't ask Nike that?
Why you don't shop at Payless?
Yeah, shop it right. There you go, right? Why you don't ask Nike that though?
Yeah.
You think because a black person making it look like you, it should be lower.
Right.
Like, we gotta stop that.
Yeah.
Because I don't make 1 million pairs of shoes in one drop.
Right.
Nike's paying 5 cents.
That's a fact.
$25, $3.
Yeah, and you ain't got no slave labor.
Right, and I gotta pay full price. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm making a shoe and I gotta pay $120 to get the shoe, I gotta sell it for at least $300.
Right.
Because I got people to pay. I don't pay nobody slave wages.
Yeah.
Right. My lowest employee makes $85K.
Yeah.
Right. So like.
And making a shoe is very hard.
It
right?
is.
Like as you talked about that process going from 3 to 4 months, right? Just to 30 to 45 days rather, just to get a sample back.
Yeah.
Right. And then if that sample not right, you got to go through different iterations.
About shoes.
Oh,
Shoes
yeah.
is the whole 90 days.
Ooh,
You keep waiting for a sample. That's
Yeah.
also about clothing.
Yeah.
Shoes is even longer.
Yeah.
And then it's also hard, like you said, like the plagiarism thing, right? Like, why are so many people making shoes that look just like Nike this or Nike that? Because those people are scared, like you said, to put their own design out, then people don't rock with it.
Right.
But they'll rock with a shoe that looks like a shoe they already like, because that shoe is already, the culture has done its job to make
It's
that
already
shoe
there.
popular. So like, oh, it's a Jordan 1 and we switch the colors around. They're gonna like it already.
So it sounds like it's laziness.
It is laziness.
It's putting the work in to create a brand is key, right? Having a story around it, a meaning, right? What gives it, connection,
Right.
Right. Like there's a effect called the halo effect with a brand. If you have one good interaction with a brand, followed up by a few more, right? That brand could do no wrong.
Right.
Right. When they did a study with Apple customers, they did a study psychologically to see like if they showed an Apple customer bad news, they took it personal, right? Because what a brand does, it becomes like a family member. So in the same light in that area where they showed, bad news for a family member, it lit up in that same area with Apple, but it didn't do the same for Samsung. Right. So most people buy Samsung just to spite Apple, right? But people who buy Apple actually have emotional connection with the brand. Yeah. Because if you talking bad about Apple, it's like you're saying something bad about me because that's my brand. I have connection, I identify with it, right? So being able to create a good brand, you create loyalists, right? Like there's nobody that's gonna come and say anything about Saya without the Saya Collective on their ass fast.
Yeah, facts. Facts, they're gonna come for you.
Right, but that's because of the integrity of the work, the quality, the craftsmanship, right? The intentionality of the design that you put into it. Those people know, like, no, what are you talking about? Like, I got my shoes. You can't say he scammed me.
Right.
Because I done bought 5 shoes from him.
Right.
You have to go through the process and the intentionality. And I think the way you building your brand is you building it a very powerful way because you're doing it the hard way, right? Like there's much more easier routes a person can try to do to create shortcuts, but you're building up a real base, right? And as a brand, being able to see the early phases of any brand is key, right? To me, I see your brand at the same equal or higher level, right? Why? Because the creatives run the company, right? And that's the difference between either, you know, startup brands, smaller companies, or customized companies, black-owned brands. A lot of times it's the creative running it, not some figurehead CEO that makes, right, and then they got a design team who may not be creative, and then have to steal from other creatives to come up with concepts. So therefore, when you got a creative running it, you coming out with new shoes all the time. Right? Like, and that's how shoe companies should be. But we get used to the same base, the same shoe, switch a colorway, switch up a small thing. And so when you see somebody like yourself constantly putting out ideas, it seems abnormal, right?
So it is abnormal, right? And it's funny, I'll tell you the story. So when I was customizing, this was the year, my second year of college in fashion school, the Curry 2 was out, and this was the year the Words was 73, right? I always only customized Jordans because that's the shoes I wore all the time. So people started commenting on the comments and say, hey, why you always do Jordan? Why don't you do a pair of Currys? Right? Now, a lot of people don't know this, but that year, Steph Curry shoes outsold every single Nike shoe. LeBron, Kobe, Kyrie, outsold all of them. So they were popular. In the Bay. I'm in the Bay too, right? So they was like customized. I was like, well, I think they was like 16 and 0. I said, yo, if they go 20 and 0, I do it. They was like 18 and 0, and I seen their record. I seen who they had to play next. I said, man, they gonna do it. So I went to the mall. I went to Foot Locker, bought a pair of Steph Curry's, came home. I had already finished customizing them, so I was gonna wait. As soon as that 20, I put it out, and then the shoe went viral. Like, this is Steph Curry shoe. They're like, yo, this shoe is fire. Like, and I wore it with jeans. Nobody went to Under Armour with jeans. I took the Under Armour logo off. I hate that logo, right? So I'm wearing it. Then somebody from Under Armour sees it. They over in London where they was filming Wonder Woman. They had to bring some stuff there. And he goes, listen, my name is Dre Wright. Work for Under Armour. You the first person I seen make the shoes look dope. I work in the entertainment side. You know, he was responsible for signing the Rock, ASAP Rocky, and all of that. So I seen this email because I wasn't customizing shoes for nobody once I was in college. I was like, I'm gonna be focused on school. And I seen it was Dre Wright at Under Armour. I said, okay, he really is somebody. He said, what's your address? Gave him my address. The next day, I had a FedEx truck pull up with just a whole bunch. Like, if I was a top recruited, like, football player, all kind of shoes, underwears, all that stuff. A FedEx truck, like 30 boxes. Then the next day, I said, okay, this guy's somebody. So they courted me. I went to Baltimore, and see, I'm one of those people, I'm from the hood. So when I'm a watcher. So I get there, and I'm in their shoe design department. At this time, I didn't even know I had the skill set to design shoes, right? I just know whatever shoe you show me, I can show you how to make it better. That was my skill set as a customizer. So I'm looking, I'm like, yo, why they got Nike shoes in here? Why they got Adidas shoes in here, right? And then on another trip when I had my interview, it was in Portland, because that's where most people put their footwear companies, because when Nike doesn't treat an employee right, they're gonna quit Nike, they're gonna work at Adidas, or work at Under Armour. So now I'm there at the footwear place, and they got the same thing. They got different Nikes. And then I thought about it, I said, yo, they see why that shoe is popular, what makes that shoe, so they can make their own version of it, right? So I seen that, but I also seen, like you said, the company may hire a creative, or not just somebody they hire to design the stuff, but they may not be creative. They may want to steal your stuff, right? So I looked and I was like, damn, each one, I said, this Under Armour, they was number 2 at the time. Nike was number 1, they was number 2. I was like, they had about 30 people. So I said, when I started designing shoes, I said, all I gotta do is, as one person, just do the work of 30 people. And I literally do that every day. Like, it's me and my boy now that I went to college with, but I literally, every day, I wake up and I design. I work from home, so I go from upstairs, I go right to my garage, to my office, and I'm designing. Every day, something. If a day goes by and I don't design, I feel like I get withdrawals. Like, I love it, right? And not only that, like, when I was a customizer, I said, I want to be the first customizer that's a millionaire. So I invented a dye for the rubber on the soles. So I had this thing called soul dye. So if it was like Jordan 11s and the soles, you remember they used to turn pissy yellow? I made a dye that could turn it red, it won't come off. Red, blue, any color. And I used to sell a 1/2 ounce bottle, concentrated, for $25. Used to charge $5 to ship it. It cost me 50 cents to make it. I was making like 30 grand a month.
Yeah.
Off of selling this dye that I would mix in my sink.
Yeah.
And from there, I'm watching Shark Tank. I'm like, everybody sell a company for $100,000. Give me $100,000 and I'll give you 30% of my company. But they made $4 million. So the math wasn't mathing for me. I'm like, so how you make $4 million and you, for $100,000, you get 30% of this? It never made sense.
Yeah.
So one thing I said, I'm gonna save all my money. So I got 100K. So I'm never on Shark Tank. I love Shark Tank, but I'm not gonna be on there telling all my trade secrets, saying, oh yeah, we paid 10 cents for this, we sell it for $50. Because now if you pay 10 cents, the customer know you sell 50, they might not want your shit no more, right? So I seen that. So from there, I was like, you know what? Boom, I did that. I ate like I was poor. Top ramen, saved all that money. And then that's when I started coming up with like, you know what? It's time, because now, not only do I have 100K, right? Now, no company, my oppressor can't tell me no. I could have got $100,000 worth of school loans, right? $100,000 of school loans can give it to you like this, sign your name. There you go, it's in your bank account. Because now they own your leverage. It costs people 30 years to pay back them loans, right? But if I go to the bank, like, give me 15K, I want to open this storefront in Oakland, they're gonna say no. Because 15K, you can pay that back up for one good month.
Right.
And guess what? Your oppressor not gonna finance your freedom.
They're not gonna finance your freedom.
No, and I knew that.
You're saying something that's very key.
Peace, family. It's power, structure, order, community, intelligence, liberation, freedom. These are words that describe what we're doing and what we're building. See, there's a word of individualism out there. You're fighting to try to satisfy your ego instead of being a part of an eco. And once you become a part of an ecosystem, now you have wisdom around you. Now you have intelligence. Now you have a mastermind of those who know more than you. And once you have access to information, technology, community, and education, now you have all the things that you need in order to build your own foundation, your own nation. You understand me? This is my family, and I want you to join it as well. Make sure you tap into the Block World Order so we can get you together.
You're saying something that's very key. Just, you know, that $100,000 is interesting because most people will consider $100,000, you know, a good amount of money, right? I remember when I made my first $100,000 at a job, right? Or having a job that paid me $100,000.
6 figures, yes, that was a thing.
6 figures was the whoo, right? I worked for Prada, right? So I worked for Prada for a number of years. I was like the top salesman up there, right? So, you know, I was learning to speak, you know, Mandarin and everything. Like I was the best you go get up there. I'm mastering the sciences of it.
Nice.
Right? So at the same time, you know, as a brand, I realized that, you know, I'm selling them like $3.5 million per year, right? But I could never be a millionaire doing that, right? The amount of money that I could spend on $100,000 salary and the amount of money that I can save, if I did and equaled that math out over time, it'd take me 10 years to have $100,000 in the bank. But if I look at the fact that if I can make you millions of dollars, what happens if I focus that energy on myself, right? I know for a fact if I'm not selling $3.5 million, I can at least sell 500,000. I can at least sell, you know, half of that or a quarter of that, which is still more than what you're paying me. So it kind of goes to that whole evaluation, like what is your skills worth though?
Right.
It's not what somebody pays you, it's what you can get out of them.
Right.
Right. And so for me, I started thinking about my own skill sets, but working at Prada, I was able to steal those skills from that job and use them for myself. So immediately after I fired Prada is when I started my business in Oakland, right? So then I learned how to create customer experience. I learned how to do merchandising. I learned to understand the story of a brand was important. And what made a product luxury, right? The quality of it, right? Why people like things, why people buy things. So as you talk about going through the education and the studying, that was key. And then I looked around and I see everybody, they try to sell black brand, right? Or black symbolism, but they don't put any quality in it, right? So I always tell people, put the quality before the message.
Thank
right?
you.
Because
Thank you.
If I like the style and I like it, I'm going to wear it regardless of what the message is.
Right.
But don't try to sell me just on the message.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm tired of that.
It's clothing. Clothing says a lot about a person. So if you give me some cheap clothing, it's a nice message, but now it cheapens the message and it cheapens my expression. So I don't want to put that on.
Right.
Right? And so as entrepreneurs and designers, if we're going to take over these spaces, we have to do better than the people who currently control the spaces. Right? And we live in a time where it's easier than ever to get into production, to get into new industries. Back in the day when I'm looking and trying to source somebody, I end up finding, I think, somebody out in Pakistan.
I own the factory there.
Yeah, see, you already know.
I own
It was hard finding somebody back in the day. Now, if you say you're looking for somebody, they'll DM you on Instagram.
Yes.
Right?
You just
So
gotta
the process
find one
is
that's
different.
not a scammer.
Yeah.
They was, I done lost 10 bands rocking with somebody in
Yeah.
Pakistan.
Yeah, no, the first time I had to send the money wire,
The Western
you know,
Union,
they had another, I
can't
didn't know
do
what
that
was
no
going to
more.
happen.
Yep.
I'm like, damn, man, I just sent the money and I just got to wait. But to that point, though, you know, designers of today, like, if you're giving them advice on how to take their brand from, you know, a T-shirt brand, right? Because, you know, you've had overcoats. I remember back in the day, all the NBA players and people was wearing your coats and things of that nature. They was fly as hell, different pattern and cuts.
Yep.
And at the time, I'm working at Prada, so I'm looking at it, I'm like, yo, this is equal quality to what they selling over here, right? And so if you're going to create a clothing brand, most people create a merchandise brand. They're not really creating anything from scratch. They don't understand pattern, cutting, none of those. Just that process of getting samples, most people probably would never even understand that. So how does a person go from regular hustling brand, merchandise, to designer luxury brand?
So with me, it was like this, like, what do you like to wear, right? I remember going into the mall for a while and it's like, I'll leave the store without nothing because there's nothing that I liked, right? So that's how I actually started learning how to sew, teaching myself. So I tell anybody, if you want to take your brand to the next thing, how you gonna sell, right? You gonna sell a t-shirt, but then everything else you have on is all these other brands. So if you like whatever, say the Fear of God sweatpants or whatever, you like how that, buy it.
Yeah.
Send it to your manufacturer.
Yeah.
Say, I like the way this pattern is. I like the way they fit, they slim leg. So now you just bypass the whole pattern thing. Because you just brought a pair of clothes that you like the way it fit, and now you just changed the design. But now you have the pattern fit.
Yeah.
Just by buying that. Right there, you save them. Especially if you're dealing with China, they can copy anything masterfully. So they're gonna copy it exactly.
That's a fact. And made in China is no longer a bad thing.
No, made in China was never a bad
It
thing.
never was, but the stigma.
No, it's the advertising because Gucci is made in China, Louis Vuitton is made in
That's a
China.
fact.
All of these brands, anything that is ready to wear fashion, which means you're going to buy it at Neiman Marcus, it was made in a
because
sweatshop.
all Prada, outlet stuff was all made in China.
Yeah.
Or Taiwan.
Even their regular stuff. But see, this is the thing.
Well, that was the game where it was finished.
Yes. If they they'll make it in China, send it to Italy, and then put the care label, because you can't sell stuff without a care label.
Right.
You know, so they'll put the label on there, now it's finished. Like,
So
even
they
the
really
shoes.
should say finished in Italy.
But they wanted that wording so they could say that's where it's made. Wherever a garment is finished, it's considered final.
Right.
Until it's actually ready to be sold and put on the rack, it's not made yet, right? So that's what they do. But if you think about it like this, right? I got common sense, you got common sense, right? So we know everything we know about China. They make everything, right? So if I want a dope suit made, am I gonna go to this new country where I don't know what y'all do? Y'all just started sewing last year. Or I'm gonna go to the people that have been sewing for 100 years. Who gonna give me better craftsmanship on mine? It's probably the person with the most experience.
That's a fact.
And that's China, right? So I learned that. So if it's certain things, like I like the way your pants fit, I'm like, damn. So if I buy those pants, now I can get the pattern and just change the design to my aesthetic. But I like the fit. So that's one. Because if it's stuff, most people who have a brand, I see them, they wear everybody else's stuff but their own. When they could just like, hey, I really like you said, if it's something I like, if I like these off-whites, I'm gonna buy all of them in every color because that's what I like. It's a lot of people's way they wear jeans. They like their jeans a certain way. If you like your jeans, buy the pair you like, send it to your manufacturer. Have them copy the pattern from that, but don't plagiarize the design, make your own design. But now you have the fit that you want. That's step one right there. Because now we're no longer seeing you just wear your t-shirt with your cool saying. Now we see you got your jeans, even the wash. If you like the way a pair of jeans, the way they washed it, the fade, Send them the jeans. So now you have the fade you want. You have it the way you want it. If you want it to look more vintage, send them it. Because all these factories can copy anything because now they have something to mirror it to. And that way you save a lot of time on samples, getting the wrong thing that you don't want, and then quality. Learn your GSM weights. Every hoodie is not the same. You get a hoodie in Walmart, that thing is light. That's why it's $8. Because the GSM is probably 120. You probably want more so 450, 480. Now you talk about the couture, the luxury hoodies, because it's heavy enough to damn near be a jacket. But you gotta know these things. This is why I say you gotta read, you gotta study. Like when I was in the Fashion Institute, we had machines where we take the fabric and run it through it and see how long it would go before it tear. Tensile strength. When I went to Under Armour, I got to see them do a whole lot of science with fashion, like even with winter clothes. They'll go in a booth and it'll simulate rain, snow, and all that. Then they come out and they see if any teared, if it stood the test of time.
And see, that's even the sciences as you break them down, those are amazing selling points, right? When I used to sell, that was the easiest way to sell, was to have as much knowledge about the product as possible, right? Because as a person is making their decision, you just feeding their decision-making mind. Why am I buy this, right? That you giving them facts that they don't even know nothing about. You understand me? In 19th century.
And they gonna tell that to the person when they this was in the mills of in the mountains of Japan. They got this denim from. It was one guy on a camel and a horse.
It was a one-eyed alpaca. And they got it from that. This is why this is special. But what you building is you creating meaning and connection. You know what I mean? And so like every time somebody used to come in my shop, I used to give them a story on why I never created anything without meaning. So when I connected them to that meaning, they would leave now already feeling something about this symbol in this shirt. Then they would buy it. I had shirts that said Black God Protocol and white people was buying it. Because when I broke it down, they had to leave with something. Either it was white guilt, but it still, it still was selling. But you know, I want, like, if I meet an entrepreneur and they, a designer, and they tell me that their brand name doesn't have a meaning, I'm not buying it.
No, not at all.
That to me is the first red flag. You understand me? Like, make up a meaning. Create an attachment. Because if it don't mean nothing to you, it's not gonna mean nothing to nobody else.
Higher consciousness meets fashion, meets design, meets a representation of your higher self. How do you actually earn your crown? You gotta have some knowledge of self. You have to be actively working on the path, consistently doing something great in your life, right? Now, you don't have to be a billionaire. You don't have to be a celebrity. I know I've crowned many people throughout my time, but it's more so about you recognizing who you are and you having something that connects to that in your everyday fashion, in your everyday style. You'll never see me without my crown. Why? Because it represents who I am, and I want that to communicate every single time I walk outside. The sun, moon, and stars representing freedom, justice, equality, and enlightenment, representing truth and a universal mind tapped in to the frequency of higher consciousness and purpose. If you want to represent those same standards at a higher level, and you want to have something that you can adore that represents your rulership in this universe, make sure you tap in and go to Crowns 19 and crown yourself. I'm 19 Keys, the designer of crowns, and I want to see you get crowned. Tap in.
What do you think right now about the opportunity we have as designers and things of that nature? Because there's a lot of growing brands, right? You got your brand like Milano, right? You see Telfar, right? Shout out to Dope Era, because he said I ain't shout him out the last time. Shout out to Dope Era. When you see these brands growing, they have like literally the ability to be the next, right? You know, billion-dollar luxury brand. But, you know, what is it gonna take for them to go from, you know, tens of millions of dollars to $100 million brand?
You know, it's the customer, right? That's why, like, a lot of people like my stuff, because I always tell them. Like, when I go on Instagram Live, people who want to do clothing, they get the knowledge, because I'm never selfish with the knowledge, right? So it's teaching your customer, like how you said you worked in a product store, right? And then you see my culture, you was like, yeah, that's the kind of same quality we were selling, because I know those qualities, because I grew up in this fashion thing. So I know, like, okay, I do direct to consumer. So I said, you know what? I know how I can beat them at their own game, like the products and stuff. I said, listen, I could sell you the same jacket for a fourth of the price. Even if the jacket, I sell it for $300, they're gonna sell it to you for $1,000. $300 still might be a lot to you, but to the person who knows what that jacket actually really is worth, when they're like, I can't believe he's selling this for $300. He's giving it away, right? Because I have people who actually know that. When I was on the Breakfast Club, Envy couldn't believe my prices because he buys in Neiman Marcus and he's seeing better stuff in front of him for way less. And he's like, it don't make sense, but it does because I knew my strategy. I said, so now if I make you pay $300 for the same jacket they selling $1,200, you never gonna go back to them. Because now, as a customer, you're gonna feel like they robbed you. But you'd be like, why would I do that when I can get it for $3 and get 3 of them from him?
The same or better quality and style.
And I use cashmere too.
Right.
So they not even selling that. That's the regular wool. And then most of these companies not selling you wool, they selling you acetate.
Right.
It's not real wool. I'm selling you 100% wool. I'm not selling you acetate. You know? And you learn that by, you burn it, that thing burn, it smell funny. The smell, it lets you know it ain't real wool.
Yeah.
You know, and this is also by going to school and learning these things, right? I didn't know that these companies, I go in these stores and I think at the time, what was it, the Balmain jeans. They was like $1,300. Then I go across the street in San Francisco to Zara and they had the same jeans and I'm feeling the denims and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm feeling the weight because we learned this in school. It's the same, but these are $80.
Yeah.
And these is $1,300.
Yeah.
Because the reason why they fool us because they make us fall in love with their brand. And then it's like, there's no knock to Mike Amiri, but there's no reason why he should be selling jeans and you don't know him for that much. So why he can do that? He's not even from the fashion thing. He used to go shopping for Justin Bieber. But he can sell you a regular cotton t-shirt for $300 because it's advertising and it's marketing and it's free marketing from rappers. That's the only, and like I say, that's no disrespect to Mike Amiri at all. But I'm just pointing out how can black brands actually get that? You'll never see Armenian on his page saying his prices are too high. He sells $1,500 jeans, more than that. But none of his people from his culture ever go and complain about his prices on his page.
And you're not gonna see them drip themselves in black brands and advertise them purposely and brag about paying for it.
No, they're not.
Ever.
They're not. And that was the other reason when I was on Breakfast Club, I was like, look, if you want my stuff, you're gonna buy it. I don't care about your shout outs. I don't care about none of that because my kids don't eat shout outs and none of that.
That's a fact.
But when you give people when you're a black owned company and you give people your stuff for free, they already think black is cheap. So now you done gave it to them for free. They have no worth in it. They have no value in it. So you just kind of killed yourself off. I knew a black brand when I was building my brand called Beyond the Pen. He made some nice stuff. He was giving stuff away to rappers, this and that. He no longer has his business because you can't recoup what you sold if you done gave it away and then the shout outs never came.
Right. And I think that's the bigger part. It's the reciprocation. Because, you know, my strategy, one of the things, if I look at it, I'm gonna look at, you know, the margins of the product, right? And the margins let you know how much room you got to give away things, how much profit you was gonna make. Because the cost of that, number one, is the wholesale cost of that product, right? When I give it away. I'm not really giving away, right, the retail cost, right? So I'm giving away, right, the actual cost that it cost me to give that away. Now, the thing about giving it away to celebrities, public figures, influencers, the strategy works if it's contractual that they have to then post it and wear it, right? Because when they don't, now you can't recoup anything. You just sent it over there and it disappears. So the idea of it is, and this is more so the intentionality, is you essentially doing a partnership, right? That you saying that I'll give you this free stuff, right? And well, I think a lot of people kind of stingy with the amount that they give away because we kind of associate the retail cost like, no, I'm giving away $1,000 jacket. No,
you give it away whatever your cost was.
You're giving away that. Now look at that as a marketing budget. Now you say, now if I give you this jacket, are you wearing it in a video shoot? Are you wearing it in a story post? Are you know, if I give it to an athlete, are you walking down a tunnel? You understand me? And getting that look that I can then utilize, advertise, leverage. So the strategy matters. The problem is with black brands, a lot of times, all the time, we don't have that aspirational where I'm wearing this to brag. Right. And so no, we wear everybody else stuff to brag about how much we paid for, how fly we look in it. It comes from this other culture, and I'm showing it off saying you can't get this. Black brands feel more accessible, right? So therefore, we don't brag about when we put them on. And so and this is the instant formula of just changing that whole thing. And this is why we talk about rappers and athletes and public figures so much, because they have the ability to change the narrative overnight. Right, just by wearing it and bragging about
but you
it.
also have to be mindful who you giving the stuff to.
Yeah.
Because there's people, I don't go look at, I don't look at Drake's page for fashion.
Right.
He's not a fashionable guy to me, right? That's
fact.
not really his thing. He just makes dope music. So if I send him a jacket, he don't even tag the stuff he wear.
Yeah.
So they're gonna be like, nobody's looking at it. Now, you gave that jacket to Kanye, he wore, everybody is gonna blow it up.
Yeah, it's gonna pick up the blogs and become
So
hype.
a lot of people be giving stuff to people, and it's just a wash because nobody is really looking at that person for that. So that's not really a partnership that aligns with your brand. So with me, the thing that I've always wanted to do was, I don't want no hype. I haven't built my brand off of hype. We're approaching $50 million in sales, right? And I
Talk your stuff then,
bro,
man. Can you say that one more time slowly for me,
$50 million
man?
in sales.
Yes, sir.
And check this out.
Organically?
I don't have never have I ever had one paid ad. This is all off of me, word of mouth, showing you dope product, constantly creating, right?
So that's a $500 million brand you just told me
Yes.
about.
And it's gonna keep going, because next year, what I got in the bag, you already see some of the stuff, what I got in the bag is just going, and I love it because I'm already rich, and I never thought I would be rich. And money, being rich don't even mean nothing to me.
Yeah.
I live like I make 80 grand, right? Because I'm happy, I get to do what I love every day. So I'm just gonna keep showing out and creating, because my kids are straight, my wife's straight, we straight. So now it's just had this fun, because I done did something that
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you, like, even when I was talking with another interview about the whole Kyrie situation, I was like this: regardless, wherever they go, whatever they decide, that's dope. But you're never gonna find me, because nobody can say, I used to work at Nike, I started my own brand, and I made $50 million in 3.5 years with no advertisement at all.
Yo, we got to hold on that part, because right now there's a lot of, I'm talking about amazing entrepreneurs, especially black entrepreneurs, doing some shit that ain't never been done before, organically.
Dope.
I'm talking about no ads, no nothing. It's just pure off the strength of creative thinking, right, and execution, and making tens of millions of dollars. Now, I know for a fact that less than 1% of, like, you know, VC and funding money goes towards black people.
Right.
If you was a white man standing in front of me right now saying you have $50 million in sales, somebody be trying to give you $1 billion.
Not gonna happen.
They'd be trying to give you hundreds of millions of dollars.
They give me $1 billion, I might take it.
$1 billion is a big B.
But, yeah, I might have to take it. But the thing with me is that, if you did that, quick question. Like, if you did that to me, right? You said you give me $500 million or whatever, right? And then now that means you just own my brand, and I just got to sit and do nothing. I can't take that money.
Right.
Because now you're taking away that every day, that purpose,
that passion
of creating and trying to show the younger designers or other people of color who design that, yo, we can make it. Now you just snipe me. Because that's what they did to all of the brands. Rockaware, Fubu, all of these brands got brought by major VC capitalist firms, and then they killed the brands because they don't want the competition. Yeah,
but that and that to me is a bad deal, and that's probably been the biggest issue with all black partnerships with these brands. It's just bad deals, and those become bad deals because when you don't have nothing, right, you're gonna take the best thing smoking, right, and that becomes an industry standard, right? Well, so and so took a deal like this, and that's how they hit you in the meetings. Well, come on, man, you know, Westcaller did this same kind of deal, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I should do it too. No, you gotta customize that deal and think about the future. Right, so these slave deals, like Kanye West talked about, when that contract's so long you don't understand nothing, you know they do that to hide things inside of them that later on is gonna hit you. It's like the side effect, right? It's a bad deal. It's like, you know, you take a prescription drug, then side effects, hey, you know you might die later on.
All the way down at the bottom in the real little tiny writing, right?
Might cause heart effect. Like, so that's how it is. It's like, you know, you might be depressed later on. You might lose your joy for this. You might lose a sense of self, right, later on. You might feel like a slave because you don't feel like you own yourself anymore.
Right.
They're not gonna tell you that up front. You'll get the joy of getting the money and then realize you lost yourself. And so it's more important to construct, because I think ownership is something you have the ability to leverage, right? Leveraging ownership is key, because let's say if you build a $1 million brand, you can have that whole $1 million brand to yourself. But if you take in a partner and they make it a $10 million brand and you own half of that, that's more than you would have had by yourself, right? So us being able to leverage ownership is definitely a key. We just seen what's the brother name? QMCO. How you name? What's his with the Migos?
P. They sold for $300 million. They sold
$300 million. And that's a different industry, but it's the same thing. These investors, a lot of them are Asian investors, you know, big funds, they're buying into music catalogs because the streaming is worth more, right? And even the royalty fees is becoming higher. So they're not buying it for what it's worth right now, they're buying it for what it's going to be worth based on the growing industry. Apple Music was all over Super Bowl. You understand me? When you seen Rihanna, that was Apple Music, right? So they are going, I think they got 180 million subscribers and they're going to continue to grow. So they're looking at these industries, and as an entrepreneur, yes, you may want the money to leverage that for whatever you have, or maybe it's just the biggest thing that you've got thus far. But they get to play a bigger long-term game.
Right.
They get to own the culture, right? And so when we take it personal, when we see these things happen individually, that may have been the greatest deal of your life. But as a culture, we think collectively like, damn, they just bought that piece of the culture, that piece of the culture. What do we own at the end of the day?
So that's what I was saying. So I was like, yo, they own. Me and my wife was talking. I was like, you know, you see, Dr. Dre sold his catalog.
Right.
First catalog. I said, yo, at the end, black people not gonna own any
We ain't
of
gonna
their
own
music.
nothing.
And so the question like you saying, like even with me is like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not having you work with me, like buying my company.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Because I'm still successful and I'm having fun.
And that's legacy brand.
Right, and that's legacy, right? So why sell it when I got something I could do with my kids later in life and just seeing what we could do on this on our own. Because once you sell it, it's just like that still becomes the thing. Because we've never seen somebody.
And that's partly the fear, right? That we can't do this ourselves.
Right.
So I must give it away to somebody else and let them take it to the moon.
No, see, and the great thing is like now we have access to everything. Like I've been to China, I've been to these factories. This is what these companies do.
Yeah.
Back in the days, this wasn't even thought of. Like, oh yeah, I can go on WhatsApp or WeChat and talk to somebody from China. They speak English. They be like, yo, I'm gonna fly out there. They tell you where to stay at the hotel. We're gonna pick you up. We're gonna take you around.
Yeah.
So now you have those same type of connections that we couldn't get before.
Right.
Right. So now that we have those connections, I don't want to be like people see like Sire Collective. They're like, yo, we watched that brand build. Like literally, people think this is some overnight stuff. Like I started customizing shoes in 1997 in Jamaica Avenue, Queens.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't start my brand until 20 years later. I had a whole career in the military. I had to readjust. You know, I said, I ain't making rich off of fashion. I told my sister, she was in the Army. I said, I'm not doing the Army. I ain't trying to kill nobody, but I'll do this other military brands, Coast Guard's more like the police of the ocean. I did that. It became 11 years doing it, 9 years retired. I said, nah, I got this passion and I got to chase this thing. All right, so I did that. And people are seeing that. They seen the customizer page. Now they see the brand. They see athletes. They see us in talks with basketball players for maybe a signature shoe and these things. But I personally have never seen somebody do that in history. So I can't be the guy who's doing it and then be like, Nike hits me up and like, yo, we want to buy Sire for $500 million. But now I know what you're gonna do. It's dead. It's done.
No, we need to create, like them legacy brands is key, right? Because
nothing to brag about, like you said.
Our culture gets to be inspired by, you know, these brands and then take from them and then try to reconstruct them and design things. But, you know, when we look at somebody like Dapper Dan, you know, Dapper Dan made Gucci street fashion, right, for the culture cool, right? And from what I know, that he don't have that same deal no more, right? He doing stuff with Gap and things of that nature, right? But the symbols that Gucci created was a symbol of luxury, right? It was a meaning. And when you create a symbol, the symbol is more powerful than anything. Because now somebody else, if they borrow that symbol, they can take this skill, craft around it, and create value. And that's what he was doing. But it's more important to make your name the symbol that is the value. And so what we do is we try to put our names next to symbols so that we can look valuable. See, one thing I like to buy brands. This is all black on right here. I customize this stuff right here, man. You know everything on. We got, you know, we design.
Let them know.
Yeah, details. But it's the symbols that matter. I put the star and crescent on everywhere I go. You understand me? I represent them cosmic symbols. You go look up at the moon and the sun and the stars. You might have to think about me, right? But being able to take that, symbols go into our DNA. You can't tell a symbol no. Right, because it creates a communication, it's language. It creates a feeling. Once we feel about something, it inspires us in different ways. And so our ability to be able to have these long-lasting names and brands and create new symbols in a culture that represents our prosperity, our growth, our class, our wealth, that's key. So you have to think about it bigger, because they're going to automatically leverage the narrative that you can't do better than what I'm going to give you, right? Maybe not right now, but in the future I can. And if I hold on to this, my children are going to be doing better, and they got more leverage.
Whatever their better is, I have to value what your better is.
Right.
I don't value your better.
Yeah.
Because I value what I think is better.
Exactly.
When you ever see me, I sit courtside. I'm always in Sire.
Yeah.
And all the players
Yeah.
from both teams, when they see
Yeah.
me, they looking, who's that guy? Yeah, I'm in black luxury.
We
And it
gotta-
look better than that stuff you got on.
We got to stop. You said something earlier. I got to stop creating these beautiful brands. And then once you get the money, the way you showcase the celebration of your success is by buying everybody else's brand and stepping outside. Like, look, I made it.
Yeah, I
your
don't do
brand
that.
should be the look, I made it.
Exactly, and that's it. When I'm out there,
Yeah.
I ain't wearing nothing but
Yeah.
Sire.
Yeah.
And they see that you got on these leather jeans
Yeah.
and this leather jacket, and they like, who's that? I said, it's mine. That's yours? You and Neiman Marcus? No, straight to consumer, baby.
Yeah.
Because why am I going to give them half of what I made without them doing the work?
It make no sense.
As soon as you put your stuff in the store, like you said, you giving it to them at wholesale.
Yeah.
Now, I may sell it to them wholesale, $300. They're going to sell it for $1,200. That may not even be the price point I wanted, because I'm not trying to price my people out, but I want them when they have the dope stuff on. Like, I sell leather pants, leather jeans for $250. You got people selling regular, thin, fast fashion jeans for $1,300. So the people who with it, they know. They like, yo.
We got to stop buying brands and buy quality.
Yeah.
That's
the
always
thing.
been my thing, buy quality.
So that's how I was able to continue to do what I do, because I teach them the quality. I used to bring out a scale and put like a shirt on it. I said, this is a t-shirt. Now, theirs is 2 ounces. This is an 8-ounce t-shirt. How long you think this is gonna last over that?
That's
and this
a
one
fact.
costs less. So I've been trying to
I like
teach.
them 6-ounce shirts, man.
Right. You gotta, you know what I'm saying? You have to teach your customer like what's quality, because now, like when I grew up, there was no fast fashion. There's no H&M, none of that stuff. And nobody went shopping every week. You brought pieces because you brought quality. That's why people like to go thrifting now. Because they're gonna go to the thrift shop, they're gonna get a shirt from the 80s that was made to last forever. These clothes now are last to wash.
That's a fact.
They're made to last 3 spin cycles, and it's a wrap. The buttons is going, everything. Like, so the quality, everybody's doing trends, and these trends, since social media, people want to show outfits. So they're out here overly buying stuff that they don't need because they're buying perception. They want to show people like, yeah, I'm doing something. You know, that's the reason why people buy the white brands.
Right.
You got Gucci on, people know it's expensive.
Right.
That's why people in the project, they sell drugs, but then they want to be on the corner with Gucci and Louis, because now they know, like, damn, Sean got on Louis. Like, he got to be making money.
Right.
Because it's like,
Showcases
we know
class and wealth and social status.
it's that classism. You know, like if you're at a game and you're courtside, you know that person's paying 6 figures for them tickets, right? But then you got the guy up there. It's just social. That's America.
Right.
Capitalism.
And
Where you fit in that.
That goes back to Roman times and different European societies where the shoes that you wear represented your wealth status, right?
Right.
It would be certain colors, certain things that was on there. So certain people couldn't wear it. Like the slaves and things of that nature, they was barefoot.
Yep.
You understand me? And so certain people of certain, status and class, and even today, shoes represent a person's sexual preference, wealth, class, status, identity, right? And so what they realize is that they say that, well, you are poor, you want to be rich, so we can make you look rich, right? And so we've gotten caught up in looking rich, right? Versus living rich or living wealthy, right? And setting up actual wealth systems,
Right.
right? If you teach people instantly, this is how you rob most people of their customers. You get rid of their insecurities, right? And you educate them, right?
That's it right there.
With ignorance and insecurities feeds consumerism.
That's a fact.
Right? Because you're trying to cover up all of your issues, right? And so, you say, well, I'm not perfect, but then what we gonna do? We gonna do shopping. And then you go buy something you feel like represents something better than you. And so if I put this on, people see this, they don't see me no more. It's my shield.
It's like a costume.
Yeah. So being able to get to a point where if I'm teaching, financial education, if I'm teaching people health, if I'm teaching, all of these different sciences, I'm healing my people to where the brands can no longer be predatory, right, on our scars and our traumas and our triggers, right? Because we're trying to become more than we know who we are. But when you know yourself, I don't need that. You know what I mean? I seen my older brother, man, he used to pick up the flyest, baddest women in the world in a dirty t-shirt. And he told me, like, you know, it's about who you are. You right? The way you able to speak, like, make her laugh, like, and then I realized it ain't got nothing to do with what you got on.
No, because most women don't even care about that stuff.
No,
like,
they don't.
unless that's what their mind state is, they want somebody to trick on them. They're like, oh, if he could afford Louis, then I know he could buy me a bag.
Right.
But if they, like,
Well,
any certain dudes
right?
that sit there and spend, pay resale on some Nikes that's not even worth the 150, but they're paying 1,000. They're like, oh, I got these. The girl don't even care.
It's indirect prostitution.
Yeah, a dude gonna come with some regular Reebok classes and bag her because she don't care about what she got
especially if he from Oakland.
Right. Right? Like,
you know, they're just different out here. We actually learn how to speak to women.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. But that's the game, you know?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's funny that you talk about the Roman times, this ain't changed yet.
No, it ain't
changed. It's still the same way with better marketing and better advertising, right?
That's a fact.
Like you say, America is the greatest country in the world. No, it's advertised the greatest country in the world.
Right.
Because I heard the country, you don't got to pay for school.
That's a fact.
Like, I like to know what that felt like. You know what I'm saying?
They ain't got to pay for school, healthcare, all these things that become like what we fight inside our democracy for, that's a normalcy for them.
Yeah, normal.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but we're advertised as, oh, we're the greatest country in the world.
And just that idea of like, all right, so us as a people, right? We don't like, if we say something is made in Africa, actually it's starting to become more of a value thing now, right? Because we're starting to recreate those connections to the motherland. And we like, oh, this is made in Africa. We feel that's more ethnic, right? We feel that's more cultural. And there's no Africa is bad value. No, when it comes to clothing, what we don't realize, there's no stereotype against made in Africa, right? Because Africa has always been the motherland of resources and skill. And so that whole made in China thing can disappear now. That whole, oh, this is made in Italy can disappear because them sisters over there that's putting together stuff in them African markets are just as skilled as the Italian artisans, right? And so once you be able to create that comparison, the only thing that they don't have is a pathway for import-export and access to different textiles so that we can create that industry between, let's say, Ghana or, you know, in South Africa to America.
Even in Italy, when you say that the Italian are, you know, they're not even the ones making it.
Yeah.
80% of the factories, clothing factories, are owned by China.
Right.
And the people who work in it are Chinese.
So it ain't no little Italian man carving up the stuff, making it.
That's probably, so the thing is, people understand too with the like the Louis Vuitton and all of these legacy brands. When they started, it was like me and you. We're sewing the clothes in our fashion house, right? They didn't rent stores, they rented houses. That's what they call fashion houses. And they would sew the clothes, oh, this is for the queen, or this is for the nobles, right? They made clothes for royalty. And that's how they got their name. That's how they got their name, right? But then they started selling their name because like, oh, this is Balenciaga.
Right.
But guess who's making
fashion houses, and that's what most people don't realize.
But see, what people don't realize is look how many stores around the whole world, right? That was custom. That was custom one-of-one for these certain people. And that's how the name got big. And then what they do now is they leverage the name like kind of like with Kanye and Adidas. Kanye owned the name Yeezy, but not the designs. So they were giving him 11% for using his trademark on their shoes. Right, that he helped design too. But it's just that name. Same thing with Virgil, Off-White. Virgil didn't own Off-White. He took getting paid $2 million a year, his salary.
I thought he owned it at a point in time.
He never owned it. That's why if you watched it, after this, watch the Breakfast Club interview again.
I gotta take my Off-Whites off.
So if you watch the interview with Dapper Dan on the Breakfast Club, he tells you that. He said these guys don't own these brands. They take a salary, right? So even Fear of God, he don't own it. He owns the name Fear of God, but because they had a spark, right? Yo, I'm Kanye's boy. I want my own brand. So these venture capitalists come in, you know what? Hey, we gonna buy your brand. We're gonna get it all built up. That's why people used to be mad at Virgil when they looked at his employees. He had no black employees. His employees was white because the same Palm Angels, same company owns Off-White. That's the same people making the same stuff.
Say word.
They just put an Off-White label on it. But that's how they work. So it's the same thing with these. Because there's so many stores, there's no way that these clothes are, if it's ready to wear and on the shelf, it's made in a sweatshop. So you're literally just paying for that name that earned its value from the times when fashion first started,
Right.
Where, like you say, segregation, where we couldn't get it. So it became a thing where we wanted to have that because we wanted to feel closer to normal. Right? It's not like to feel like white people. White people treated us different. We were 3/5 of a man. So if we had the same clothes that they had at one time, we couldn't own it.
Right.
Now we can own it. Now we feel closer to normal.
Right. Right. Like a
Right.
full
And if we're
human
closer to
being.
normal, then we started getting that breakdown of, well, okay, well then our people who still live in the hood, they can't afford that. But we're closer here to the white people.
Right.
And these people are not. And they still do it to this day.
Right.
When you see people bragging about Amiri or Louis Vuitton, because you go to the hood, some people wear Payless.
Right.
They don't got that. So now you feel like you at least leaped this person, but you haven't leaped anything because you still live in the same building.
Right. And you're the
You don't-
same person.
And you're the same person and you don't own anything. You spend $100,000 a year on clothing from these famous fashion brands, and you haven't even purchased a property yet.
And if you were to save that 100,000, you would actually be more wealthier.
Yes.
So by not wearing the clothes makes you wealthier, but by wearing the clothes, it robs you. So I always do this study in comparison how most things in our culture is just backwards, right? That's why we stay in poverty, because we have poverty-based habits. If we had wealth-based habits, we would do things completely different and we would reverse our condition.
I like that. I like
right?
that.
And so once we are able to look at, wait a minute, number one, that's why I talked about the whole made in Africa thing, because that, and when you know, that can be different countries, whatever, but once we put that value base in made in Africa, right? Or made in Black America, right? Because we know the whole thing came out with Idris Elba saying that he don't want to call himself a black actor, right? And, you know, the other brother was saying that, well, it's not that you shouldn't call yourself a black actor. You should really focus on those who pigeonholed you because you're a black actor, right? And I understood what both were saying, right? One is saying that I'm an actor. I shouldn't be judged. My profession shouldn't be judged based on my race, right? Because then you're putting a quality to it to say whether it's good or bad, right? Versus is my acting good or bad, right? And what we both have to eliminate both systems. The idea of somebody being melanated or black should never have an association morally or quality style of bad. Because when we realize we created all things, right? We realize that there would, the dye systems, the math, the science of the world, all of that come from us. But we don't have hero tales, right? Our tales, they start in slavery. They start in chains. But when you start the hero tales and you go back and you look at the Moorish brothers and how they was dressed, you go look at, you know, royalty, right? Black, African, Moorish royalty throughout history, then you go see, damn, boy, it was fly as hell. They were the one we showed everybody else how to dress, right? And so that's a key, but if you don't have that understanding of yourself, you think of Italian history, that's a skilled artisan story in history. That's where those skills come from. You're not educated about your own story. So you don't even think to attach that quality of skill set that gives you that feeling like, damn, I'm getting the best in the world by tapping into my people, right? And so that's what we have to change. The same thing of like, you think about rubies or diamonds and minerals, you don't think black people. Why? Because we say, well, it may be from Africa, but we was the miners. We wasn't the jewelers. We didn't shape it, right? We weren't the ones that sold it to the rappers. Right, so we're usually at the base of it, at the root of it, but we're not the one that sell it to you, right? And so you can have 1,000 Africans working inside a sweatshop for Gucci, but they wouldn't buy it because it's Africans. They go buy it because they believe it's an Italian brand, right? And I'm stepping into a new class that's no longer associated with poverty, right, which is black. And so there's a whole lot of psychological things that we have to do, but as an influencer myself, as a leader myself, right, and yourself, the best way for us to begin doing that is to advertise those things that we want to see, what's real aspirational. Like these mischief boots that had went around. Boots. Yeah, the anime Astro.
It's Astro Boy,
Yeah. But it's like when Kanye West was walking around with his big old boots, everybody was clowning him, right? And now he came out with Astro Boy boots. Now I would never have thought the culture would have put them on. Right? But it seems aspirational. Oh no, that's art. Right? Oh no, he got inspired. Right? We put a whole nother taste onto it, right? To where we go wear that shit and look like clowns, right? Because we feel like when we do it, oh, y'all don't understand. Oh, I'm out your class by doing that. No, he just about to make millions of dollars off these rubber, whatever the hell they are, shoes, because he realized that we love everybody but ourselves. And we can't wait to show them we love y'all more than we love ourselves.
Facts. And that, you know, and that comes down to, like, once again, that's marketing and advertising. We're never marketed as the luxury.
This episode is brought to you by crowns19.com.
Right? We're just poor. You look at it on the TV, we getting shot, we getting killed for no reason. Like, there's nothing to outsiders to look and be like, damn, I want to be black, right? They want to be black, like Paul Mooney. Everybody want to be an N, but nobody want to be an N, right? Because when they see, it's frightening to be black. I'm a rich black man.
Yeah.
And I drive, if there's a cop is behind me, I'm driving a damn G-Wagon, right? I got jewelry on. I'm like, yo, am I gonna make it out of this stop?
Right.
I gotta think like that, and I'm successful. I pay the taxes that's going to pay his salary. Like, I pay taxes. I don't get no money back. You know, I pay 7 figures in taxes.
Right.
So I know, yo, I didn't pay for you to slaughter me.
Right.
I didn't give taxes so you could kill me.
Right.
But it's scary to be a black man in this country. It's nothing cool about it unless you black.
Right.
Because we have a pride.
Everybody wants the privilege of being black, but nobody wants the responsibility of being black.
Exactly. And you know, and like, it may never happen where we can really see a black brand really be considered, oh, this is really luxury to the others, because it's always, for rappers to go platinum, it's not just black people buying it, it's always white kids, because you're given a stereotype of what they think the neighborhood is like and what gonna piss their parents off. So they like that, right? But for us to get that, it's so much more learning and so much more pride that we have to see our people, because our people don't really have we're missing so much pride in just our excellence and what we've overcome, right? To even compete on these levels with these brands that pay billions in marketing to be exactly where they're at, right?
Right.
And out of that billion, we give them another billion free, because you listen to any of these popular rap songs and they're talking about these brands in such a way that is gonna make the kid listening like, nah, I need that Prada, I need that Gucci, I need that Louis, I need that Fendi, I need that. Because the black people that made it out of my neighborhood and can wear gold and jewelry and drive Lamborghinis, they're talking about those brands. So if I want to be like them, I need that.
Right.
I don't need the Sires, the Dope Eras, you know what I'm saying? And the only time we got close to that, to where we're getting that, is with Virgil. But Virgil only got on because of Kanye. He was Kanye's guy, and who would you rather deal with? The quiet, soft-spoken Virgil, or the opinionated, gonna say whatever he feel, Kanye? And they both from the same neighborhood, but they different temperaments. So, like Kanye says, soon as Nike wanted to bring all of them over there when he first got his deal, and Kanye said, no, I want me, focus on me. Then, when he went to Adidas, that they wanted all of them, so they couldn't get all of them, he didn't let nobody, he didn't want Virgil or none of them at Adidas, so then Nike was like, oh, we already got rid of Kanye with the Yeezys, let's just grab Virgil and all of them, bring them over here to Nike. And then because of Kanye, he's the number one influencer, maybe not anymore, but at the time, he was the number one influencer in fashion, black man. So his boy got to get on and make Off-White. Now that's considered a black luxury brand, but it wasn't even black owned. But the people didn't know that, but you still see, you say Off-White, $3,000 varsity jackets. A lot of black brands can get you $3,000 for a varsity jacket if they ain't made out of mink and some exotics, you know, but we were close. That was it. But we didn't even own that, right? So now, how can we get there? Because the reason why they got there is because they had white marketing. All those companies, LVMH, number one fashion firm in the world, they were putting the dollars in that. So like, to get there, it's got to take something where our people, like you're saying, they just got to, we have to have value and understand quality. Because I hate when people say, yo, buy my brand, it's black owned. When you tell me that, I don't even want to see your brand.
Nah.
Because you're selling me guilt. I don't want guilt. I want drip and I want quality. I know quality.
That's a fact.
Yo, don't sell me guilt. Like all these brands, you know, they go on social media and they be like, yo, this is black owned, but then you look and it's like you put more hard work into the message of saying you black owned instead of the quality of your shoes. Like if your shoes look like Payless shoes, I can't rock with it because I don't want that. And I don't want to reward you for that.
Yeah.
You know?
Unfortunately, or actually fortunately, rather, I'm gonna go with this spin, is that we can't create the culture around it, right? So like the solution of, when I think about a lot of these clothing brands, shoe brands, there's a whole culture around it. People who talk about it, people who blog about it, right? Like you need PR, you need bloggers, you need media, you gotta be in these spaces, but we have to create the spaces that dominate. We can't say, well, I'm a designer, but the next level is being accepted by European fashion standards, right? And European designers. That's not supposed to be the next level. It's supposed to be, here's our over here. If we influence everybody else, we have to tell everybody, this fashion blog is not W Mag, but the bro over here, his blog is the best one. So if you make it in this, guess what? Yours blow up. And so we got to start creating these centers to where we can now use these as springboards to launch brands. Because that's what they do. They create media around it. This blogger says something. We don't know why this blogger is important. Right. We don't know why this fashion critic is important. But everybody said that they was important, right? And so if every rapper was saying, man, that's the best. Listen, man, now that he done said it's drip, it's drip. So now, boom, he done said Crown Society and Size is fly. Guess what I'm getting? You understand me? I'm gonna go get that Crown Society. They flying off the shelf. They are very strategic in the way they go about things. People think like there's this magical accident and brands are just created. There's machines that create these brands. And we have to become a systematic people who have our own formulas and have our own institutions in order for us to be able to springboard and launch these brands to prominence, right? To a point where it's majestic and it's regal, right? But you also said something that was key when you're talking about quality, right? Educating your customer is key, right? Because if you don't educate people on the importance of it, they don't know why it's important. They don't know why it's luxury. They don't know why they should buy it, right? Versus otherwise, you should just make something cheap if they're not educated because they're going to buy that. If you're going to make something expensive, you have to educate them on why it's important, how much it costs you almost, not just giving out your numbers, but it's like these crowns, right? So we started off hand painting them, then we went to screen print, then we went to embroidery, and now we do the buoying. The buoying is a much longer process, right? Like this is where I got to get samples, have it sent back, and then I realized they make it exactly the way I send it to them. Like if it's shifted a little bit, it's gonna come out shifted, right? Yeah. And I'll be mad because I'm like, y'all didn't know to just fix that. Yeah, but they're not creatives.
No, they just gonna do what
they're doing exactly what I tell them. And so I realized like, damn, I can't take anything for granted in these processes. That means that exactly the way I do it, they're not going to be like, oh, it should look like this, or we going to do that.
No, they're not going to change your design.
So even understanding that, it's like, yo, by me going through that intentional process and me constantly going through this process of increasing the value and the quality of it, this is why there's a price associated with it. And so I don't market them in the sense of, oh, buy my crown. I'll wear the quality. And if you want the same quality and the meaning and the feeling, then you attach that to yourself as well. Now, this is a part of your aesthetic and expression, right? And more brands have to get to, like, Telfar, that's far from a brand I would think about wearing or anything, right? But their branding is key, right? Their ability to be able to, create these lists where women just want it, right? That's Beyonce. Fire.
That was Beyonce. Beyonce wore the bag one time and
I ain't know that. And then I looked at their marketing campaigns. Even their marketing, though, it's a design ethos that's in it. So when people think about Telfar, I seen female rappers rapping about it, right? Yeah. So now it's like a thing, like, yo, that can stand next to your Prada bag. It's okay. You can come out the same way you come out with a Prada or Gucci bag. You can wear Telfar and be considered in the same class. Because what people don't want to sacrifice is the class, right?
And the crazy thing is, I love to see how Telfar is doing their thing. And the crazy thing is they're doing it and their bags are vinyl, right? Their bags are vinyl, they're not leather. And they're able to get this. You know why? Louis Vuitton bags ain't leather either.
Yeah.
Them bags that got the monogram, that's canvas.
Yeah.
And this plastic heat on top of it. But people been paying $3,000.
And that for the nylon ones as well.
Yeah, for $5, $10,000 for this bag. And now to see some black brothers make a bag that's not even genuine leather, and they're able to have it has this thing. And that's because the right influencer grabbed it. Beyonce brought the bag. And once Beyonce brought the bag, it was over. The Beehive wanted it. Everything beyond. See, that's having the right influencer. And I don't think they gave her the bag. She somehow got her hands on the bag.
Right. That
And
it
ever
would have been
since
too
then,
expensive to give it to her.
No, that they sell their bags for like $40.
But that
$50.
no, I know what I'm saying is to like pay her. To be
Yeah,
like,
oh,
yo,
yeah, yeah,
Beyonce,
yeah. Yeah, you
that's-
can't pay her
You
enough
can't
to
even
do that.
afford
No,
that which will launch your brand.
Yeah, you can't afford that cosign.
But that's what I mean. Like just
But her doing that.
All if you are a top A-list celebrity, or even anybody in prominence in our culture, you can make it intentionally to where you wearing somebody's brand is like launching startups. You know what I mean? That's like giving them $10 million.
Right.
Why not do that? If
And-
you
and
have that ability, pick a brand and be like, you know what, this month, I'm gonna wear this. You understand me? And I wanna see they shit launch.
You know what? That's dope, right? Because like you literally have that power. Like that's literally. Soon as she did that, they couldn't keep the bags.
Right.
The bags sell out in 1 minute, and they selling thousands of bags in 1 minute to the point that they had to do pre-orders, right?
Yeah.
And that just took one. Like we have this power, and we're trying to change this wealth gap. Why not look out for these black brands? And see, like you don't got to support every one of them, but if it's one worth supporting, you see it, you see
Right.
it's the quality, throw it on.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Yeah.
Because that right there can create generational wealth for that family,
Right.
where then it can get passed down and passed down. Like you said, even with all these white brands, they all together.
Mm-hmm.
They all together. They helping it. When you're wearing a mirror, you're wearing his name.
Right.
That's his name on his driver's license.
And he not gonna partner with you.
No.
These brands that you like, if you go find something you genuinely like, I promise you, if you have your team reach out to them and be like, yo, I'm gonna wear this anyway. But if you have any opportunity for partnership, it's going number one, it's gonna incentivize them to push it anymore because now they have equity in it, right? And now you have a partner as well that you can utilize for marketing and launching your brand. I just think like when we talk about intentionality, it has to be there. Because there's so many different ways you can make these things work out for everybody. The first side, of course, is the free side, wearing it just because you like it. And being intentional about black business is key because if you think about all the restaurants, right? You can go on Uber and you type in black restaurants, it'll show you the ones that's out there. You're gonna eat anyway, right? But if you say that I want to increase the circulation of my black dollar in these restaurants, guess what? They have considerable amount of growth, 20, 30%, just by that intentional thinking.
Right.
You didn't increase 4 to 5 to 10 to 20 customers that say, you know what, I'm hungry, but I'm black hungry. You know what I mean? I want to get fly, but I want to get some black drip.
Right.
If we're not intentional about it, and we don't have the same amount of businesses that compete in the marketplace against Asians or European brands, right? Therefore, we're not going to be able to get that surplus, so we can't hire more, right? So we can't circulate wealth. And that's why intentionality is key with what we do, because it lets you know you're thinking about the collective and not just yourself.
Like one thing, I like people like, yo, why you don't put rappers in your stuff like this and that, or they don't buy your stuff? I'm like, because they don't see it. Now, right? I can't always put the onus like, oh, these black artists are not supporting me. I'm direct to consumer. So one, they got to know who Saya is, right? And once again, I said I don't pay for advertisement, right? But now, if I say, you know what, I'm gonna do a deal with Neiman Marcus, and I put my stuff in Neiman Marcus, that's where they shop at. These guys, they shop there because they feel that that is the upper echelon of clothes. This is where you're gonna go. This is why no matter what, you seeing them wear the same stuff. I'm from New York. I'm not wearing the same stuff as another dude.
Right.
Especially if we in the same industry. Y'all already sharing the same women. We not sharing the same clothes. You feel me? We not sharing the same clothes.
Oh,
I don't want the stuff that is easily, again, you know, I know maybe it was like in Oakland, but we wanted to dress different from everybody else, right? These guys dress the same. But if I had Saya and Neiman Marcus, I know you would see rappers in videos wearing
that's
it.
a fact.
But then also, and I got to charge way more. Then now I'm pricing out my core base. So like one thing with me is you got to know people, right? So rappers, right? Most of them don't wear the same brand only, right? So okay, I give this rapper Lil Wayne this. He gonna wear that shit one time, that's it. He's never gonna wear it again. Even if he bought it with his own money, he gonna buy it and he gonna go. He not gonna come back and keep, he's not. Now, my customer base is the 9-to-5 workers. I have dudes that have over 150 pairs of my shoes. I've only been around for 3.5 years. People don't even have 155 pairs of Jordans, right? That's intentional. But that person works at maybe UPS, FedEx, or work at a regular job. These people are the people that's gonna keep coming back every day. So I made that my customer base.
No, that's
because
smart.
I want the repeat customer. I don't want the famous customer. Famous people want stuff for free and they only want to wear one thing once. And all these new artists, they're not trying to be different. They just want the most expensive thing that you know is expensive. So if they're not even trying to be different and they're just gonna wear something one time, why do I really want you as my customer? Because that one time you wore it and you post on Instagram, maybe somebody saw it and was like, oh, that jacket's nice. That's a long shot. I'm not playing a long shot game.
Right.
I'm direct and I'm literal. I know who my customer base is. It's the people that work a regular job and they got some extra cash from time to time. You know, I got the sneakerheads. I was a sneakerhead. There's stuff that we started complaining about. They started making sneakers with fake leather.
Yeah.
And charging more. So I said, when I come in the game, genuine leather. We're gonna do it like we used to do it. First come, first serve. So when we opened up the store, first thing, we had people come from all over the world. From China, we had to come to buy those shoes right there in tan. The all tan pair with the white bottoms. We had a line around the corner with no advertisement, no news coverage, no nothing. I've been doing this. So even now in this game, how you say they have the way they have their fashion shows and the bloggers. How is it that I'm doing everything I'm doing and none of these sneaker blogs cover me?
Because they paid and bought for.
Is it because I'm black?
That part too.
Is it because I'm showing black people we can be independent and run shit? What is the problem? Like we done been all over the press talking about if you look up Side Collective, Kyrie name is attached to it just because we've had interviews and I didn't do any interviews with any white media. People who hit me up, black media, I'm gonna do the interview because we get overlooked. So if anybody is mad that I do an interview talking about, you know, the possibilities, I'm doing it with black media. So I'm giving our people they're getting the exclusive. I didn't do it with TMZ. You know what I'm saying? So it's the liberal, because I'm black all the time black.
Yeah.
Right? And that's,
I talked about this in Sacramento. There's February black,
yeah,
and then there's 365 black.
I'm 100% black all the time. I love my black skin. I love black excellence. And I'm gonna be that all the time. I'm never gonna apologize for being black and wanting to do for my people and wanting to do it my way. Because I'm showing a whole different way. They told me, oh, you don't give celebrities free stuff. When I was on the Breakfast Club, the whole conversation, oh, he's stupid, he's never gonna make it. Well, guess what? I'm $50 million richer.
Yeah.
Where you at?
Because the game done changed too. Like our access to, this is the thing, social media equalized the playing field a lot because at first, the celebrity was the only access to the audience, right? So you have to go through the celebrity to get the audience.
Yep.
Now you get to go direct to consumer. So with having new direct to consumer channels means that you can create, you know, now everybody's talking about organic consumer generated content, right? So creating campaigns with people who actually buy your stuff is more authentic. People are tired of being sold. Right? So they know that they're being sold something just because a celebrity got it on or this, that, and the third. And that works for huge macro influencers for people who still into that sort of thing. But if you got your shoe just trending on TikTok because somebody wore it and they danced in it or something, or they did a blog about it, now that's another 1,000 shoes sold.
Yep.
Right? So would you want to focus on tapping into the TikTok audience or trying to chase a celebrity around to get through their audience? One is direct.
Yeah, you go direct to consumer. That's,
Right.
that's the game.
Yeah.
You know, we have these avenues like you have the Alibaba app where you can find any manufacturer you want. You have all of these different things if you use it, right? But that viral moments and stuff like that, man, we did the shoes that when you walk out, the whole outfit is white. The shoes are white. You walk outside, the whole outfit changed color, different colors.
Yeah, that was fire. I seen that.
Yeah, that whole thing went on. They never seen nothing like that. And that's the other
I
thing.
need that fabric, man.
That's the other thing, right? Because the one thing I like to do is I want to do some stuff you never seen before. Because now, okay, they don't have, but now Nike's doing it, right?
Yeah.
But I beat you to it.
Right.
Like, I was making the foam shoes with the laces and the booties. Now Nike doing it. Adidas got one. Everybody got one. But I'm on my fourth one. Y'all just on y'all first.
Yeah.
This fun to me. As the little guy, I get to be like, yo, I'm doing stuff that y'all copying now.
And your process to market is easier because you don't have all of the stuff in between.
No, and I don't have to ask a guy in the head of sneakers to be like, do you like this idea? No, I don't see it. I know it's gonna work.
Right. So what would it look like? So let me ask you this question. What would it look like? Because this is a game changer. If, let's say, you sign an athlete or an athlete partners with you, right? Because, you know, if we take a look at some of the deals historically, I'm sure there's a way where if you structure the deal with them, they could make a lot more money, right? And so what I want to say is putting that into the options. Okay, you got Nike, you got Adidas, you got, you know, whatever, and then you got Saya. Right. So how would you structure a deal if an athlete, whether they coming straight out of college or they already have a deal and they want to restructure something with you? What does that
So
look
let's say
like?
it'll be two different ways, right? So like I have Montrezl Harrell, he plays for the Sixers. We do 50-50. The shipping, like what the cost of the shoe plus the shipping and the tariffs and taxes, once that's paid, the leftover, we split the profits 50-50, right? That's with him. Now say like somebody like Kyrie. Montrezl has never had his own signature shoe, right? And Montrezl owns a sneaker reseller boutique. So he's not only just wearing his shoes that I designed for him, he's wearing shoes that he sells in the store because he's advertising his own business, right? Now somebody like Kyrie is worth $300-400 million. I don't know, he's worth a lot, right? That with Kyrie, I would do, listen, you're a proven ROI. You're gonna return on any investment that's put into you. So you should be the brand. You start Kai Sports, right? And you're gonna need somebody who knows how to get a successful business off the ground. Your business is gonna be successful as soon as you put out your first product, right? So with him, with Kyrie, I said, yo, I want you to have 100% of all your profits, but let me come on as a creative director and the guy who can get you into every factory you need and design it. Because I'll design you, you seen this, you seen what I showed you on the phone. Like I can design you the product that is you, that speaks for you. I know he's
How many shoes he had to sell to get to $100 million profit?
Huh? Who, with him? Kyrie?
Yeah. Like if he was going through your process, how many?
Okay, so if he was going, he'd be 100% ownership. He'd make $100 million his first drop, right? Because if you think about it, say, all right, somebody like, say he made 1 million pairs of shoes, right? He made 1 million pairs of shoes, right? And he sold them for $200, right? That's 200 million right there. You gotta cut the profits, what they make and all that. He's never even made that with Nike, right? Nike's
how many shoes he averaged, if you know, how many shoes he average sales with, let's say, his Nike deal, right, per year? Not cost,
I don't think they put the numbers
units
out, but it's a lot. Because one, LeBron is their number one signature after Jordan, of course. You know, what current athletes is LeBron, Kyrie. Kyrie has a second successful sneaker line there in Kobe, right? So he's definitely making Nike $100 million or more a year, probably more than that, right? Like Nike made them billions of dollars. Jordan makes them like $3 billion a year. But
because Kanye had to be selling like
no, check this out. I'm about to break Kanye down. Now check this out. Kanye, I think 2011, he went to Adidas. Kanye became a billionaire faster than anybody that's in that game because he only get 11% royalties on what he sells. He was making Adidas $2.3 billion a year. Now, if he get his stuff back together, he could come with the designs that people are going to support. Kanye will be a billionaire in 1 year because he already has the consumer base. But now it's, can you do it with without the machine? That's going to be the thing. A lot of people can't do it without a machine. A lot of people are scared to try to do it without the machine.
Right.
I've done it without the machine. I'm going to continue to do it without the machine, right? Because I put the work in.
Right.
I know how the machine works. So with somebody like a Kyrie, yo, it could even be even doper. Kyrie has Native American, heritage, right? Native Americans don't have enough jobs. Guess what? They got a lot of land. Fulfillment centers. So you get your shoes made in China, right? Send them to the Native Americans, right? That's your fulfillment centers. You can have three different, you can have one in the Midwest, East Coast, South. So now whatever shoes is going to that part of the region, now you just created hundreds of thousands of jobs for your people, right?
tax free.
And thank you. And Native Americans don't pay tax free. So you could do something like him. I don't reach out to people or athletes or anything like that. But to him, I love that brother because what he does and what he stands for, right? I know he ain't no anti-Semite, right? He's a peaceful person. He's about peace, loving everybody. That's who he is. If you think otherwise, then you really don't know him. You're putting you're projecting on him, right? But he's the person who thinks like more so like how no athlete thinks. These athletes think like, because they've been trained to take free stuff their whole life.
They're afraid to think.
Yeah, and they've been trained to take free stuff their whole life. Nike's been grooming them since they was kids.
Most of them have a team you know, even he was telling me, like, you usually have like a team of 7 to 10 people that just organizing your life for you.
Yeah.
Right? So before you even get to talk to a person, you got so many people that's vetting them. Like, but how do they know for real that if that would have been a good opportunity to you? So a lot of opportunities never even come to the forefront because you have so many handlers, right, that you're not even really in control of your life.
Right.
And that's how it is in the NFL and the NBA and the entertainment world, is that they don't really have control over their life and they don't really have intelligence
And that's what recently
beyond
happened to Kanye. And Kanye, people need to listen when he talks.
Yeah.
Even when he might be, you might think he off, because
Yeah.
he said, he's like, I owe such, I don't know math. Remember he said it,
Yeah.
he was like, they say I owe the IRS this and that, because his whole life, he's had people to handle that. Right? Like even right now, I own real estate, right? Me and my wife, that's what we do. We buy houses and stuff. I let her handle that. She's the product, you know. I don't even know half of our addresses. I know how to drive to them.
Yeah.
But like if something was that, we was just talking about this, like
Yeah.
everything happened with my mom. I was like, yo, you know, we need to make a book so I can tell you if something was to happen to me, this is the vendors. This stuff gonna keep running because I have designs for the next 5 years already
Right,
in the
because you're on the
wheelhouse.
high level of it. You know what I mean? The low level is the details.
Right, so I want you to have this WeChat number, this WhatsApp number, this, that. We have the designs. Everything needs to be in place because this can't die because I died.
Right.
Right? Same thing with the real estate. If something happened, I'd be like, damn, how do I pay these property taxes? When does this property tax due?
Right.
When does that one due? When is that one? I don't know because that's her a part of the other company.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like that with a lot of these athletes and these celebrities. Like the good thing about me, I didn't make it rich when I was in my 20s. I made it rich when I was 42, right? I've already lived a lot of lives, right? And I already was preparing myself. Some people get rich, they never knew they was gonna be rich. And they're broke just as fast because they never had the training on how to deal with that kind of money, right? When I told you when I made the die, I started making 30 grand a month. First time I made 6 figures in a year. And I'm like, this is a lot of money than I've ever had. Nobody in my family ever made like $350K a year or whatever, right? So I got an accountant off the gate because I'm like, only thing I fear is losing my freedom. I said, I ain't gonna let them lose my freedom because I ain't pay this tax. In fact, sometimes I overpay on taxes. I get money back because I overpaid them, you know, because my accountant don't play that. You know, he's like, I grew up with him. So he don't want to see me. We not playing no tricks and all that stuff. I'm doing what I gotta do because I need my freedom to continue to do what I'm doing. But I say that, like you said earlier, you said something about we're not trained on wealth. Or you know, we're not trained on that part, right? And that's sad because that's why during the PPP era, a lot of people was getting $1,000 a week, never made $1,000 a month, and what they did, they spending it because it was free money, and then they also wanted to show off on social media. So a lot of companies made a whole lot of money, right? But see, if you know what you're doing, so this is why I'm on my 4th foam sneakers. I'm like, yo, okay, nobody can go to work, everybody's staying home, so now people want to wear athleisure. You know, sweatsuits. Crocs got real popular. Foam, they just want to be comfortable. They don't care about being fly right now. Care about being comfortable. So I said, but then I knew after the PPP, I said, we're going to go into a recession because that's just how it works. History tells you this. If you read, you know this is going to happen. So I said, maybe people are not going to be able to afford my $200-something sneakers. I need to make a product that's cheaper. I need to get something in $100, right, in the $100 range, because now those people who still want to support but just don't got it like that,
right.
That's when I started making the Evo foams, the SC20 foams, the Volt. Now we're making foam shoes that look better than the Crocs, right, that are more comfortable, and now it's cheaper, and now our business is growing even more because now those things just caught fire, and I drop them, they sell out in 5 minutes. And if you know foam shoes, you got to buy a lot. It ain't no 100 minimum, no 200 minimum. You talk about 1,000 minimum. So in the 5 minutes, you sell 1,000 pair of those. You know, you make $100,000 in 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah, that's why the sneaker industry is harder to break in. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
the minimums,
minimums
is way higher.
And you gotta be consistent, right? And you gotta have a dope product, right? No matter what, your product gotta be dope. So thankfully, I'm able to create dope sneakers that can make me money. But for the first time, like we talked about Rockaware, Sean John, ain't nobody ever wore no Rockaware sneakers or no Sean John sneakers. They didn't make them.
Yeah.
My base is making dope sneakers, and I make even doper clothes. So I got the whole package, right? I do the glasses, do watches, do everything, because I don't want you to feel like you got to go somewhere else to get that dope stuff.
Yeah.
Like I grew up in New York. We wear Timbs. I said, yo, I don't want to wear Timbs. If I'm going out and wearing my own stuff. We sold out in 1 minute, but it was crazy how many black people had an issue with a black company making in mind.
That's our thing. We got to stop making everybody else shit our staple.
White people's ownership,
and that becomes a staple.
But
like we
crazy.
have to get it from them. If we make it, then it's not valuable.
But that's crazy to me. How much pride we take in a white company's own. We don't own it.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have stocks in Timberland.
Right.
But you feel like you feel like no other company could be able to make a work boot when they're not the first. There's 20 companies right now that make a boot exactly like Timberland. I make one that is not even the same patterns and better quality at the exact same price. I said, no matter what it costs me, I'm selling it for the same price they selling it for, right? But it's crazy that we're so programmed. Think about that. When you can be mad that a black person making a boot that now you can support, that's better quality at the same price, better comfort, but you're mad, you feel because you are married to this tree on the side of this thing.
It becomes it became a family.
And that's the problem, because now that's another thing we don't own. How many times have Timberland came to the hood and took care of the hood?
Never.
How many times they like, you know what, we got a whole lot of overstock sitting. Yo, rappers made Timberland this or that. Yo, let's go to 40 Projects in Queens. Let's just go out and do a shoe drive.
Never.
We got all these rappers, every year they'll do a backpack drive to get back to their hood. Why Timberland ain't do no?
Never.
Why they ain't do no?
And it's, as you mentioned, that it's the easiest thing in the world for any one of these brands to do.
And it's a tax write-off.
They still say F y'all.
Yeah, and like literally they could give you the shoes for free and get the tax write-off for the government. And they still rather put it in the outlet, sell it for $20 or $30, but not give it to you for free, your culture, who so much loves their shoes, their boots, that you would be mad that a black company would have the gall to make it competitive.
Man, we do that with every single brand. We did that with
Everything.
Gucci, of course, Hermes, right? The Jordan shoe, of course, has a more unique story because of Michael Jordan, but still, you know, even with Jordans, the ability he has to get people to buy the same shoe over and over
And pay more for lesser quality.
Is like sneaker culture is crazy right now. Like the resale is high as hell. People are buying 500% markup on shoes.
That just came out the same day.
It's
I'll pay
wild.
resale for a shoe like say the Jordan 16s, right?
Yeah.
That's a 2001 shoe, but that's one of my favorite shoes. I brought that shoe about 5 times.
Yeah.
For a markup, because you can't buy it no more. It's a classic, but people will buy the shoe that come out on Saturday for $1,000. That was $220. Bro, where they do that at? Like, I'm not doing that.
When you get a brand like once you get a brand like that, it's immortal.
No, that's buying acceptance.
Yeah.
Because you're like,
that's what I'm
ooh,
saying.
I have this, it might be rare, I have these fragment Jordan 1s, only about 50,000 pair were made. Now you feel special.
That's a status brand.
Now, but guess who you feel special to? It's not for you. Most of these dudes won't even wear the shoes. They got it on their wall and won't even wear the shoes. You brought it to take a picture on Instagram to get likes and followers.
Yeah. I mean,
but you don't even want to wear it.
Shoes have become it's a new asset class now.
Right.
Right. I don't know how long it'll last, but now it's a new asset class. I don't do that because I like to dog the shoes I wear. You know what I mean? They be talking about me because I be wearing off-whites in the gym. You know what I mean? I don't care. If I'm buying a shoe, I'm buying it to wear it all the time.
Right.
Right? Like every one of my shoes I dog until they dead, right? But you know, some people it's a different, they look at it like an art. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I bought this asset, it's a status, I own this one, it's something that you can talk to people about. Sneaker culture is just a completely different culture.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but also there's a lot of fake going on. Right? So like with that, I've seen a lot of people basically trying to utilize the blockchain now to authenticate these shoes on the blockchain. I know Nike, I think
Marshawn was one of the first ones that wanted to do that. I remember he was trying to do that with Bushimi. I think he was doing a shoe with Bushimi.
He did one with Bushimi?
I think he did, it was either Greats brand, which Bushimi owns.
Okay.
But yeah, he was trying to do something where they was like doing, this is years ago,
right,
where you scan it and you would know the shoe is real, but
right,
bro, that's only cool when you selling it.
Yeah, you definitely got to sell it. And That's what brands are doing now. When you go to the stores, a lot of them, they utilize a blockchain on the back end, but blockchain ain't sexy, so they just use it as inventory purposes. And I think that's why Nike is suing a lot of people now, because they want to be able to control their whole resale market. Because if they put their shoes on the blockchain, then they can get that money, right, that's sold when it's leveraged for resale, right? But, or the secondary market. But if you got all of these other people that's, you know, owning your shoe, right, or copying your shoe brand, and they can't control that. Same thing with music. Once the artificial intelligence and all of these music platforms and all these different ways to sell and leverage the likeness of your brand come about, they want to make sure they own all of the rights to it, all of the copyrights, everything. So right now it's that time where you get and bring everything in-house. You don't leave nothing else, because this is a time of plagiarism right now. Ain't nobody thinking of nothing original.
No.
Everybody is trying to figure out how did I, like, people take my high level conversations and they try to repost it on their YouTube channel and create YouTube channels out of them. And they getting hundreds of thousands of dollars in views, or thousands of dollars in views per year, right? But it's like, what if I say, I only want to be the source of my high level conversation. I don't want somebody to discover me on another platform. I want you to have one place to get it, and that's it. And then I control the value that's circulated around my IP. Right? And that's key. That makes the most sense in the world, especially with the way the markets are going. It's going to all be about intellectual property and ownership, right? Because if Nike or music artists, you know, and right now in the future, it looks like they're going to be all owned by nothing but corporations. So when we're leveraging them on our videos, or they give us ability to use them in different ways, they're getting paid, no longer the artist anymore. But my likeness and my voice, I want to control the rights to my voice, the rights to my digital likeness. So no, you can't create no cartoon that look like me. No, you can't utilize my voice or even the algorithm of my thinking, like being able to patent the way you think, because now they can clone your thinking and basically create a bot that's like your DNA. So now it can talk like you. They got generative design right now to where it'd be like, yo, can you design me a shoe like, you know, Saya Collective?
And they'll make the AI. I've seen those coming up.
All of that is, that's why it's important to own it. And there's going to be some landmark cases that's going to come out where people actually get to own their likeness and their style, because how can you protect what you create if AI is basically, you know, generating designs from previously created designs, right? So it's not really being creative, it's generating from what's already created. And so it's important right now for the designers to protect everything that they have in their wheelhouse. Because if I can say, AI, make me a shoe, and I'm seeing them, they designing better than Nike. They design, because they're not doing it based on the market. They're not doing it based on money or somebody else doing it. They're doing it based on pure design principles. And so none of these companies are being ran based on design principles. It's based on capitalism in the market.
Crazy. That's crazy. There ain't gonna be no designers working at Nike.
It ain't gonna be. Why would you? What's gonna happen is you're gonna have design prompters, right? So their ability to utilize AI to create designs in very specific ways. So if I say, yo, I want somebody, because the CEO ain't gonna do it. So they say AI won't be the one that steals your job. The person who uses AI steals your job. But now we need less people to use AI. So you have to be a person that develops a strong brand and a strong skill set and protect that brand and that IP right now, because black business is in trouble, right? Labor market, they calling the big resignation is becoming the big regret, because now AI is taking over.
And now they can't get the jobs. Like they was quitting. Now they want to go back to work.
And this is the unfortunate reality, is that we don't know how to look into the future, right? Everything that I teach on now, I've been teaching on 5 years ago. Right? Usually everybody around and be like, yo, Keys taught me that. He was the first person that brought that. Because I'm always looking for it. I want to stay up to date. What is the trend? Because if we already behind the 8 ball, we get it the worst. So we're educating people on trying to catch them up. We're not really even ushering them into the future, right? It's like we're trying to give you financial literacy, right? Where we're fighting against families that have 6 generations of wealth built into their trust systems, right? Or institutions to where we're buying everything from them. So these tools can be used as a way for us to advance and become more efficient, and that's what's going to happen. But I want to make sure that every brand owner, every designer, and every entrepreneur that's in a culture that's trying to grow right now focuses on increasing the efficiency for the future output and not just for now. because what you're doing now may allow you to compete in the marketplace of ideas and execution now, but in the future, you may be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years behind these companies that are able to utilize these tools to shut you out of the space. So it's a powerful and a beautiful and a dangerous time all at the same.
Facts.
Right? But I got a question to ask you.
Yeah.
So I was looking at this breakdown, right? And it was a psychology of the different people and why they buy different shoes and what it represents when they buy it, right? So one of them is, let's say, boots, right? They say a person who wears boots can be a good planner. And I'm gonna tell you why after I'm gonna just name them first.
Yeah.
You see a person with old but well taken care of shoes, they say that they more of a conscientious type. It's more likely to be honest, right? Designer shoes says it shows power, right? Or class. Flat shoes say it represents a hidden leader, person that's probably not seeking a lot of attention. High heels is a representation of being in charge. Flashy shoes can't go unnoticed. You understand me? So sometimes it can be a shy person, right? Because they use their shoes to represent their personality rather than themselves, right? And then a person wearing, very nice shoes is a representation of a person that's always clean, right, and more dependable. In those definitions of those breakdowns, do you think about shoes and that psychology, right, in your different customer segments?
No, not on boots or none of that. I never even heard that one. But
Yeah.
like on the one with the flashy shoes,
Yeah.
that's like my customer base.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why we sell so many shoes, because what's cooler than, right, you brought some shoes, right, that nobody's heard of.
Yeah.
Like not a lot of people know. You wearing some shoes and you walking down the street, somebody says, excuse me. Yo, where you get those shoes
Right,
from?
that happened to me a lot.
What shoes is those
Yeah.
you're wearing, right? And it's a dope thing. They're like, yo, those are, now you're like, now that person, because I get a lot of people be like, now they're like you.
Right.
They want every color of that shoe.
Right.
Because every time they wear it, they get so many looks. Jordans is great, whatever. But nobody's really gonna ask you that. They know what that is.
Where you get them Jordans from?
It's been advertised. You got them for Foot Locker, or them the fragments, or you got them from a resale shop. But when you have something that's dope, and somebody gives you a compliment, and you haven't got a compliment from wearing your Yeezys or your Jordans, now you like, yo, I'm gonna wear more of these,
right,
because these stand out more.
That's a fact.
Because like you said, some people are shy.
Right.
So they speak with their shoes. They like, I like shoes that's loud because I'm not really a loud person.
And you know what's funny, not to cut your wisdom, but I've never thought of that correlation at first between being introverted and wearing flashy shoes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And which is different than wearing flashy clothes, right? Which can probably still translate in some ways, but shoes, because they're at the bottom, they're not the thing that's taking up the most. I can wear black and still have some flashy shoes on, right? And that's the representation of my personality that shows a little splash of, right, this is how I am on the inside. I just don't feel like expressing that myself.
Yeah. So, it works like that. And I've gotten so many DMs and messages like, bro, yo, your shoes is it. You the GOAT, because I get so many compliments. Now, dudes is like, I started selling my Nike shoes so I could buy more of your shoes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then my thing was like, I got to keep bringing that new flavor for that person. So in like the last 3 years, I've designed, we have over 30 models of shoes. And if I don't really pay attention to Nike, what they drop anymore, but I'm pretty sure for a company that big, we've probably made the same amount of new models, not selling you the same retro as them.
Right.
Because I'm that addicted to designing.
Right.
And to also, I know like, well, damn, I don't want you to just keep only buying the vultures or buying these. I want you to have these ones, the VV1s, the VV2s, the VV3, and so on and so forth. I want you to have a nice palette. So I'm like, yo, you got boots from us. You got shoes from us. You got Chelsea's from us. Your girl got heels from us. She got shoes from us. I want to do that because that's how you build a longer relationship with that customer, by giving them that, right? Because now they're like, I don't only just get that on that. Every time I wear your shoes, I get glowing praises.
Right.
And some people, they like that because then it brings up a conversation. Because sometimes people will be out and they'll tell me, they'll be like, yo, Saya. Because they see somebody wearing Sayas and it's a thing. And then they'll start, so guys, how you found out about Saya? I've had people make friendships from at my pop-ups. I'm out there. No security. I'm with the crowd. We sitting, we talking, we make drink, we make smoke, but I'm with the people because y'all put me here.
Right.
How can I be Hollywood when y'all put me
Right.
here? Y'all believe in me more than people I grew up with.
Right.
Because y'all buy my stuff every week.
Man, see-
There's people who grew up with me probably don't own nothing.
Right. And that's how it is with, so like when I do events, right, I always have my crowns and things of that nature. We have the hats, we have my health products, the books. But like, even the team be like, man, you be giving too much energy of yourself. But like without the pulpit, without the people, it's nothing. So I sit there, I first used to start off crowning people, right? So it was this process where I would travel around the world. When I meet you, right, I put the crown over your head. It was some words of affirmation that kind of went with that process, and it became a thing to where people like was marking their day when they made that journey because they seen themselves as well being connected to it. So it created an emotional connection to the ritual process. And so when we have lines of like 100+ people waiting to get crowned, right? And creating that sort of brand story and brand ritual was key. And for me, it meant something. Like I got a brother who buys so many, he got more crowns than me.
Right,
You know
right,
what I'm saying?
right, right.
He got every single colorway. He got, cause I took the branding and the design process when I was working at Prada and I started studying. So I understood like you gotta always have something new. Like this one never came out. This is a completely different one that's different than any of the design I did before.
Yeah.
Normally you see like, it's a very conceptual of star and crescent design that kind of go around. And I wanted to do something. It's like our 7th year that just represent growth. You know what I mean? And represent now we can be more abstract because you know what it means now. You know, right? So I got like 2 of them I'm about to present, and now I'm like, yo, every month I want to drop a new crown, and you can only buy it within that month, right? And so now it becomes more of a collector's item rather than anytime I go to your store you can get it. But my store is usually mostly sold out. But I don't market because I'm aware of this for the rest of my life anyway. So like when you talk about design, I share that passion. When I'm designing, I can do that for hours and time just disappears. And once you finalize a finished product in design, there's no greater feeling. And the attention I go in there like, man, I'm about to create something raw as hell. I don't know what I'm about to create yet. But I go through the research, I start studying, getting inspired by different things, and then something just hit me. The other day, I was in a bathroom, and they had these geometrical patterns and shapes, and I took a picture of it, and it's what allowed me to design this next crown. It was exactly what I needed to get inspired. And I designed that instantly, and it finally came through.
Same thing.
And I'm like, yo, make that now.
Yeah, I do the same. My process is crazy. Like, so when I design a shoe, right, when I design a new model, I get it, and when I get the sample, I put it, I'll stay on the couch, and I put it right on my little coffee table thing, and I sleep looking at it. I fall asleep looking at it. It's like, one of them I sleep with, like a baby. Like, I'm like for real, like a baby. And the other one is there, and I'm looking that whole night. That's like the culmination.
How many iterations you go through? Because by the time you see my finished product, it's probably like 30 other ones and it's hard for me to cut down which one.
So with me, like with a shoe, when I design it, I don't waste no designs. Because when I design it, I already know it's a hit. So like, it's only one shoe I designed, and then I wasn't really in love with it, but I didn't put it out. I just had the sample, and I was like, I'm gonna come back to it. And then when DMX died, right, I was like, X. And everything was like this, right? They kept showing this thing, and I was like, that's how I'm gonna change the toe box. So now the toe box has a suede that comes like this, but if you look at it from the top, it looks like almost like DMX. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that.
See, that's
and then when I did that, it was a wrap. Like I was like, now this shoe is done. And when I got that sample, same process.
That to me, that what you just described, that process is why you always have an up on big brands. When you create your own and you can go through life and you catch a moment of inspiration and you can capture that and then create, that's not something that a designer that works at one of these shops or stores has the ability to do, right?
You gotta think about it, right?
Those moments are key.
But think about it, right? You have a guy that works, right, at Nike, right? He's not thinking about that, right? He's an employee.
Right.
He that's not his heart.
Right.
Right? Because a lot of people, most of those designers are architects.
Right.
They're not even into sneaker culture. See, I grew up in sneaker culture. I was a real sneakerhead. I know so much about sneakers, it's crazy. So sometimes when I'm designing, I draw back to my childhood like, oh shoot, remember the Lottos? They had this, how the Velcro came out, or like different felines from back in the days, all like different things. And I'll think about one element of that, and I'm like, I want to put an element of that onto a shoe that I'll design, and it can start with that one element, and I'll just build around it, right? I'll do like a quick sketch. You know, I'll take a picture of a shoe, and then I'll just draw on top of it, and then white out all of the original parts of the shoe, and then the white part becomes, then I draw the new lines and all that. Then I give it to my guy, we put it in the computer, and then we really master it. But I don't let nothing go into sample product if I don't already like it on paper. When I already like it on paper, I already know. I'm already seeing colorways. I'm seeing stories, right? Like this is the 50th anniversary of hip hop. So I remember that iconic picture of Biggie, where he's wearing the Timbs, he wearing the blue jeans, the Coogee sweater, right, and the Yankee fitted. So I made a whole shoe that has that.
Right, all those
I'm making a
elements in
shoe,
there.
do or die best style, right? I'm gonna do a shoe. It's gonna come out. The front of it got the same nubuck that the Timbs is made out of, to the real denim, to the print of my own type of Coogee type joint.
Yeah.
But it's that when you see it and you hip hop, that's Biggie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you got to tell those stories, but you got to be passionate about it. A lot of people do a lot of stuff for money. I would do this regardless. I'm so happy that I can make millions doing it.
Yeah.
But like you said, I'm gonna wear this for the rest of my life. This is me. This make me feel good. You know what I'm saying? Designing and having those shoes. I just think I'm gonna hit 40. I'm gonna dress like old people. Like when we was young, we was old people. We're gonna wear business suits all the time. I'm just like this today. I die.
And that whole idea of like designing your life, because I don't think most people, that's why I talked about it in the beginning.
Yeah, they don't.
Most people don't dress based on who they really are.
Right.
Right? Like if everybody had a stylist, that stylist would come to them and be like, all right, what is it that you want to express? A person to be like, yo, I want to be regal. I want to, have a fun spirit. I want it to show my creative side. I want it to be sexy or whatever. You go to that person's closet and be like, damn, I ain't got nothing to work with. Everything that you just told me you want to express on the inside, it's not a representation in your closet, right? That can be job, that can be survival, that can be, you institutionalized as normalcy, that's a simulation, all of that, you being sold your insecurities, that's what's in your closet. But when you start from a root of a person to be like, all right, who are you and what you want to project, they have to change their whole closet if they want to project who they really were.
That's a fact.
Right? And so like I said, when I like to wear military luxury, right? That's what I call it. It's like militant luxury. I always say it's like a mix between like James Bond, Pac, and Malcolm X.
Right.
You understand me? That's how I'm gonna come outside. But the military was always stylish. That's where they pulled most of the styles
from. Look at
from.
how much fashion comes from that.
Yeah.
Like I was in the military. When I started, we started on military.
Yeah.
I still put military pieces into my stuff because one is part of my past, but also the military fly.
Right, fly. And it's uniform, and everything in the military has to have a meaning.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're designing a brand, like a person that's in the military designing the meaning, they can't just put this stripe here for no reason.
Yeah.
They can't just put this lapel here for no reason. No, it has to have a meaning, right? They're designing it for different ranks, for different officers. They can't use the same colorway as of a different type of branch. So if you think about design and fashion and whether it's your organization, your business, like start from that military thought process. What is the reason, right? Then every single detail inside your business and your brand, inside your style has a meaning. It's to express something, right? And so for me, like, what am I represent? I represent what I think about in the way I wear, right? So I ain't even got to introduce myself. You already know I'm on a different type of time. Because you gonna put me up against 100 other people, bruh, different. If you ask them to point out who's different, bruh, different.
And when you in the field of dating women, guess who she gonna look at? Because not only that, she sees somebody who's not scared to be themselves.
Yeah.
Right? So I remember when I first moved out here, I never even spoke a word. I'd be in the morgue, I'd be like, what part of New York you from? Without talking. And yo, first thing I did when I called back home, I said, yo, the women here is a different type of smart.
Yeah.
I was like, how?
Oh no, they could point out a person from the Bay. You know what I mean?
But I moved here in 03.
Yeah.
Right, I moved here in 03 when I got stationed out here in Alameda.
Oh yeah. It was still hyphy.
And it was still individualism in fashion.
Yeah.
When I moved here, the dudes here was wearing the long Alvin and Chipmunk t-shirts with the Jabot jeans. We didn't wear those in 5 years in New York, but out here, they had their own style. And when I first moved out here, I was like, you from, I was like, them dudes dressing old with the new stuff. And now I miss it, because everybody dressed the same.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like,
it's just weird. Everybody's just waiting for what the next person do.
I never heard the saying Coke white tees.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. Coke white tees. I was like, slang, all the different stuff. Like,
I think music started to have too much influence over fashion. I think
Yeah.
that's what happened. It's like, let's say with the Air Force Ones, everybody wore it because it was in the music, right? Even when you talk about food, but everybody wore, you see LL Cool J wear it.
Yep.
And so it became less about the individual expression,
Yep.
right? And it became more about being like this person you look up to, right? And so it became plagiarism. I'm gonna copy your style. And so when you think about the tenets of hip hop, you know, plagiarism and copying and ain't in it. It's supposed to be originality, right? So like that may represent the way Future dresses or Kanye dresses, but what about you? So that's why it goes back to, if you tell me who you are, what you want to express, and I look at your clothes, that's not what I see.
Right.
Right? And so like I always thought about the idea of design and customization, right? Like we live in a world that's generalized, right? It's not customized. But if I was to feed your personality type and your design type to a machine, and I say, well, create a custom style for this person, it probably won't look nothing like how you shop, right? But it's gonna look like who you are, right? And what it expressed to be yourself. And so I want people to, you know, find new ways to express who they are. Right. Whether it's in the shoes you're wearing, the clothes you're wearing. So we stop having a society that's based on copying everybody, right? Because there was this study they showed where they had like a camera set up, and like every hour the same type of fit kept showing up because people in society are the same time. They're the same, like there's an avatar for you. Right. Even in the hood avatar.
Oh yeah.
Right, like if we go to different hoods in America, it's similar to the same. We know we go see some sagging. That got to be added into the avatar, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was, you know, oversized clothes, right? You might see the hoodie in Oakland. You go see the hoodie. You go see the dreads, right?
Yeah.
Right? You know that's a style, that's a look.
Yes.
But you didn't create that. That's what you was influenced and programmed to. That design is a program. So if you think about designing yourself and being original, you have to be based on who you are, not where you are, right? Because we dress based on geographical location. We dress based on our financials, what we can afford, what we can't afford. And also we dress based on our imperfections, insecurities. We don't want to be seen. We do want to be seen. So like, what about when you get to that point where you're truly free, you fearless, right? You don't care what nobody think, right? And every day you can go out there and be yourself. What would that look like?
Right.
Most people never gonna get to that point in their life where they get to be themselves openly and expressively. They have to be what's comfortable for the rest of the world when they see it. They have to be this person, this version. I don't want to be judged, right? Like I'm wearing, I got the crown strap, I got the Machiavelli vest, and I'm putting that on every time. I don't mind being seen because I'm me. You can look at every part of me and that's me. I'm good. So the idea of plagiarism comes from that fear. Like if I show what I think, people might not like it. If I put on what I want to wear, so I'm gonna look at what everybody else has on and I'm gonna wear that because it's more comfortable to fit in than it is to be yourself and stand out. Yeah. And they keep hunting us by our insecurities. Black people have too many insecurities. We like I said, our so-called American story that they tell it starts in slavery, but that's really white history. That's not our history. That was what we fought against their stories and their narratives. We created cotton gins and shit because we had to, right? We was there because we had to, not because we wanted to. The people who chose to be there, that's their story, right? That went along with their narrative and their industries and how they chose to build wealth and enslave us. That's not our story because that wasn't our nature, right? That was you all's nature, customs, and normalcy. And so when we realized that, what was our normalcy? Go back and look in the books and see how fly we were, or see how when you look at different African cultures, they wear things that represent chieftain, right? If you go to the Akan people in Ghana, they wear the celestial symbols to represent their status, right? In that community, they have a process of instilling where they crown people to say, now you a chief in this village, like, or just looking at the black aristocracy or royalty period, you're gonna see like, damn, we was always fly. There was different versions of us. We wasn't always, some of us was half naked doing our rituals, as we still are, and some were the kings, right? Some built extreme, amazing, beautiful things. So when you start from there as a base in history, that's where you pull from as an inspiration. So there's nothing to climb up to. Why do I need to put on this brand to be accepted if I already came from royalty? Like, I'm good. So when we show a Bill Gates that's a billionaire and they be like, well, he ain't got no style. That's basically what people say. They say he ain't got no style, but they use it as a way to talk about our style, right? But that's an unfair comparison. Number one, everything else he has is expensive, right? You
See
can't.
how his house look?
Yeah,
He
his
got
house.
style in that.
When you go see him in a suit, yeah, I'm sure that's not a $100 suit. That's a
Right.
$3,000, $4,000, $5,000 suit, right? So, but we use that to demonize us all the time, to talk about our practices. It's not bad for us to get stylish, because that's who we are. We represent our spirit.
It comes. It's
Yeah.
in us. We come from royalty.
That's like saying it's bad for us to season our food.
Right.
Right? Because rich people don't season theirs. That's not the same. I don't want that. If this man is rich and he pick a wife that I don't like, she pale, pasty, crusty, and dusty, that don't mean I'm gonna do the same thing that he do. I'm gonna pick with rhythm, style, and grace.
Right.
That don't even make no sense for us to compare to another culture
Right.
and be like, whether this has nothing to do with their wealth, number one, because he couldn't afford to dress exactly like you. And it has nothing to do with his financial status. It's more so us comparing a person's mind to our spirit, right? We are people with spirit and soul. So we represent our soul. We do things with rhythm. We do things with spirit. We don't just do it from our logical mind. We never was those type of people. We never asked to be in a system like this. We have to learn financial literacy and education because that's the only way we can build and design, because we live in a system based on that. Right. But if we had it our way, we would just come out and express ourselves every single day and it had to be nothing to do with money. But we have to be the guides of our culture. We have to be the owners of our culture. And that's why I think your message is so important, because when I listened to some of your interviews briefly, you just kept talking about being an owner and independence. And that's the number one thing that they fear. That was the common thread we seen last year, black men talking about being independent thoughts, right? Independent expression. How dare you say what you want to say? How dare you even have this position and not feel like you privileged enough to shut up? Like, no.
Right. Shut up and dribble.
That's what it's about. Being a rich man, the most dangerous thing about a black man being rich is one who has knowledge of self, right? And who ain't afraid. Right. The ethnic background of you is what makes you dangerous. Your values, your principles, your morals. Exactly. How you treat your people, how you have an identity that's enriched in culture. That's what people be like, nah, we can't give him no more money. We're not gonna get the most dangerous creators in the culture money, because then we can't control the culture no more with money. You know what I mean? So they have to make sure that there are benchmarks that we have to consistently fight for. There's nobody in the culture with $100 million, right? How many white men you can, not 100 million, 100 billion, right? There's white men with 100 billion. Nobody got $1 trillion company. Nobody in the culture can brag about having 10 billion, right? There's certain benchmarks we haven't reached, and they dangle that and say, well, you're not gonna reach it if you do this. You get this amount of grace and freedom, but if you do this, you never gonna reach that. Right. And so we're trying to push the envelope, but somebody else controls the standard. So it's about us controlling that standard and having that power, right? So I know I done had your time here for a while.
No, that's all good. It's all as much time as you want. I love this. This is this elevated conversation.
Yes, sir. So I want to ask you, you know, the future of Side Collective, right? Like in terms of, let's say, first technology, right? With generative design, I think that's going to be a huge one, because they haven't figured out exactly how to implement AI with allowing people step-by-step help with the design process. But I've already seen it being started in some apps, but it's not that good, where you can start with a base design and they can basically take you through a process of helping you go through the end supplier and bringing it into production. But with you, right, you have your employees who you treat very well. I see you buying them cars, they happy as hell, right? And I think I've seen one of your employees recently too.
Yeah, Ashley.
Ashley, that's who it was. Yeah. I said, he bought you the car, that's what's up. But you know, as far as becoming a brand of the future, right? Do you see yourself integrating technology in it whatsoever?
No, as far as that AI, I wouldn't do it. I have to design it.
Not even just AI, but I mean like my bro Idris, who designed for Nipsey Hussle, where he embeds the blockchain in it.
Yes.
But like I started off adding
Young cat too.
Yeah.
Doing this young,
that's my bro for sure. Yeah. So like even that, like just fashion and technology, that relationship, period, because we know that they gonna use AR, metaverse stuff. Like I just know for our brands, we have to maintain the classic but be future forward at the same time.
No, I haven't really thought about like the technology part to the level, because I remember he even had the stuff with Nipsey, you scan it, you get to a song. You know, like I haven't even, that hasn't even been on my horizon, thinking about like the technology part. So that's something that I would have to actually do more research on and see how it can actually benefit me. Because if it, you know what I'm saying, it's got to make sense. You know, I just don't want to do it because everybody else doing it. Like everybody jumped on NFTs. I say I don't see it. And a lot of these NFTs, they don't talk about them no more with the sneakers. Remember, they all StockX, buy the sneaker, they Nike sued them. Like, and you know, people like, oh, I'm buying this NFT and now, because the way I see NFTs is like it's a digital picture. You get to own it, digital picture, but how is that going to be valuable when everything's on water it down? Because we're in the social media age. There's going to be more picture sharing, more this, more that, to the point where people are like, oh, I own the original first picture of the side of ocean, so I can screenshot it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never caught that to think that it was going to be valuable to me, right? And I'm the kind of person where I'm cool not being first to some parties, right? Like, everybody was like, oh, get on this NFT.
Being first is expensive.
Right, because a lot of people, let's do the NFT, let's do the NFT, do the NFT. You should do an NFT with your shoe, right? First of all, I still understand how that works. So let me look and see how it really works. And when it's perfected, if it didn't make dollars, it makes sense, then I'll go to it. I'm cool with being last to it because when I come to it, I'm gonna come to it correct, right? So
yeah, I think most people approach it as a trend rather than a technology.
Right.
If you look at the blockchain space, period, you know, the block market, there's all sort of new technologies and softwares that emerge that basically take old processes and make it super efficient now, right? So for me, the idea of like, when I was talking about Idris, he created these chips that get embedded into clothing, right? So let's say each one of your shoes come on one of those chips. They can now scan that chip and look at the history of that shoe, where it came from, if there's a resale market, who owned it before. You can even embed information into it. So maybe you want to put out a free course. So you say, well, if you buy, you know, this particular culture vultures, right, it's going to come with a course on there or a documentary on culture vulturism. Or this shoe represents a membership.
Right.
And then you have the ability to where it connects to an app and it's updatable, right? So let's say, you know, I might not do nothing with that shoe till you sell it to them in January, but you say if you own that by March, we're going to add a bonus to it. This could be an entry to a show. It could be, you know, exclusive drop for only people who own that shoe. So it just gives you more creativity to manage to where that's a harder process if you don't have it centralized, right? So the way I looked at NFTs was a technology to which you can use for your creativity. But most people were doing it based on the market. Oh, this went up, I'm gonna buy it. So therefore they was losing because 90% of businesses that start up fail.
Right.
This is you starting a new brand. So this is startups and entrepreneurs, 90% of them go fail.
That's facts.
And so we've seen that exact thing happen, but we do see some brands maintain the value and they're gonna build over decades, not over just months and years. And so that's why technology has to always go through, you know, this process of where there's a bubble, it goes all the way up, that bubble bursts, it comes down, has a little recession, then it finds its standard or where it's going to exist in culture. And so now we're at this place where mass adoption is going to happen from companies, whether it's company to company or company to consumer, but they're not going to sell it as an NFT. It's just embedded in the fabric of the company process because it makes it easier. Right? And now we can actually implement more things. So we're not selling it based on the NFT. We're selling it based on what we can do now that we're utilizing this blockchain technology.
Okay, I see.
And so that's why it's messed up. You know what I mean? And I told people that earlier, like, don't buy celebrity projects. Right? Don't buy it just because you see it. Study everything, whether it's cryptocurrency or it's the stock market. Why wouldn't you apply the same metrics to the crypto you apply to the stock? Right? Anytime it's something new, study how new industries emerge, how they come about and how they're adopted to the masses. Just because this is your time, and we went through DAOs, which is still a great concept, decentralized autonomous organizations, where essentially everybody who buys into it has equity and they have shared ownership where there's no CEO of a company. The collective owns that company and it's tracked on a blockchain, so there's no way that you can like snake somebody, right? The money is accounted for inside a treasury and everybody has voting power on what you do next with that money. So let's say if it was a shoe company, then you would say some people connect NFTs to a DAO as like a membership pass. You buy in it through that NFT, now you are a shareholder within this DAO. So let's say, well, now everybody who's a shareholder in this DAO, y'all can decide what the next colorway that comes out. So now you're doing it based on the consumer participation and the voting power. And or you can say, well, everybody who is in this, y'all can get profit when I sell that. And it's so easy because if you take that money, it'll be automatically distributed to the owner. So you don't have to do nothing. They don't have to trust you because it's all transparent because they can go on the blockchain and see it. So ideas like that allow the owner and the entrepreneur to conceive of different ways to where they can leverage their IP and they can leverage a product and they can leverage their community that already exists. So that was I've been teaching the blockchain for like 5 years now. I was telling people about AI and blockchain because I was like, yo, this is a way where we compete in the marketplace. We're super creative, but when you can't mix the business and creativity, there's a lack because you have to do one at the same or the other.
Right.
But with blockchain, I really think it allows you to do both, right? It's saying that I don't have to sacrifice one or the other. I can be super creative, and now it's possible because of the blockchain, right? So now I can get all of these things done at once. So I think that's a reach where we look into the future and we're figuring out, like, if black people want to stop complaining about anything, we just use the blockchain. If we say we don't like the dollar in their system, we use cryptocurrency. If we say we don't like CEO corruption, we use DAOs, right? If we say we can't afford employees and access to certain tools, we're going to use AI. If we say we don't like the narratives of the media, we use social media. So like, our old complaints are not valid no more.
Right.
It's our laziness that's valid.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Which is invalid, but that's our real reason why we keep the same complaints.
Exactly.
So that's why I brought that up.
Yeah.
You know?
No, you got me now thinking now.
Yeah. I want to see us do, because I want us, as black people, we need to constantly set the tone. Kanye West, there was somebody who made a Kanye coin years ago, and they copied his likeness. And that was years before, right, all of the cryptos that's out. I think it was only like 3-4 of them out at that time.
Yeah.
He had his lawyers, you know what I mean, basically get them to stop, cease and desist, essentially. Yeah. But if he would have instead embraced the technology, he'd have like a top 3 cryptocurrency on the market today. Right? Which would be worth I'm talking about billions and billions of dollars.
He didn't see the opportunity that he could have took from it.
Right.
And could have been a billionaire where Adidas can't even strip that from him.
Different kind of money.
Different.
If he would have said the same thing with NFTs, and a lot of people and I don't like the word NFTs because it's stigmatic to what happened with the market and the trends last year. But just the technology allows him to sell to a mass group of people all at once, verify every single transaction at once, take in $100 million, have it in his bank account, right? And transparently deliver these shoes from a step-by-step process way where each person can track what's happening with it. So you're not gonna deal with no chargebacks, none of that, right? Today, if he say, I wanna drop me a shoe, right? It's a pre-order process for the next 5 months. He was selling jackets for a year later.
Pre-order, yeah, and they got it a year later.
If he say they not delivering in 2024, people buying them. That will give him all the time in the world to set up the process. I promise you, he probably make $1 billion on the blockchain between now and to 2024.
You just gotta have the right. You gotta have the right product,
infrastructure as well.
Yeah, and that's what I want to see now. Next with Kanye is like, without the machine, what are you gonna do?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He went on his little tangent, and I felt like he wasn't thinking. I didn't see a mind of somebody thinking about, how can I get back what I lost because of my designs?
Right.
I want to see now.
I think that was buried out of frustration.
Yeah.
Rather than pure genius strategy. Because he knows Idris. Idris has designed stuff for him. So he could have Idris design that for him, and that would have been billions of dollars. So it's like within our culture, within our spaces, we have to utilize each other, build with each other. Oftentimes it's a lack of communication. When we get success, because it's so brand new to us, we happy with what we got. There was a story my brother Keenan told me on the first episode of High Level Conversations. He was talking to a billionaire white guy at this party, and he walked up to him, and this man just got money. He said, how come you don't think, it's no black people in the culture that got money like you or something like that? He said, because I ain't never met a black person greedier than me, right? Straight up.
Yo,
their passion is the money, so they just keep building.
Yeah.
Apple is $1 trillion company. And you think they want to stop at $1 trillion? They're trying to figure out how we get to 2.
They're trying to get to 20 trillion.
Right.
Keep going.
When we build things, we get satisfied. And that's fine because, greed, destroys. But when we think about somebody, if not a few of us, that's all it takes to create something so large that it can't fail. and that it becomes an institution for everybody else.
Yeah, so that's my thing now is like, I want to, like how he's like, I'm not greedy enough. Well, I am with not the money, but to see how much more I can
Right.
do. That's is what's pushing me, you know, like,
Yeah.
like I want to see how far I can keep going before, you know, one of these companies be like, yo, he on our radar or
Right,
something like
it's too
that.
big.
I want to see like, could I make it to $1 billion from just really on your own?
If
Made.
50 million in sales, 10x that evaluation, you got $500 million.
Bro, I want to keep going. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's got to get there. It's got to hit another because everything is timing too, right? And luck to do what I've done. It's time and luck, but it's also the consistency. Like, I don't stop. Like, it's abnormal. Like, a lot of things I'm doing is abnormal. It's not normal for a black-owned sneaker company that just came out to keep coming out with styles and keep coming out
Right.
styles and quality
And they hits.
and don't have a machine behind them. Like, literally, I work out of my garage in my house, right? Like, this is unheard of, right? I've never... I know everybody who's black and who has their own sneaker company. No, none of them are doing what I'm doing, right? So I got to keep going. That's the greed. Is like, how far can I go with this? Can I make this $1 billion company on my own? And that's my personal goal, right? So like say like Puma would be like, hey, yo, we like what you're doing. We want to give you $300 million. You know what I'm saying? I'll be like, I can't. Because I got to get that on my own. Because if you want to give me $300 million, that means I'm probably worth $1 billion.
Yeah.
Because you're always going to undervalue what I am.
And because we don't always look at projected growth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I look at the projected growth. I
Yeah.
know my company's already worth over $100 million.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I remember when they sold FUBU for $100 million. And I was like, that's crazy.
Right.
I thought that was so much money. Like, yo, that's crazy. But it's like 5 of them, too. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I just want to, 500 million, 600, I just want to see how far, what we could do. Because like you said, the bigger it grows, then it becomes something else. And still to be able to do this direct to consumer. And you had said something about Nike, like Nike is doing that. Nike told Foot Locker, we're not gonna give you a lot of stuff no more. Because they realized, why are we giving them the shoes for $70 when we could sell it? Maybe if you do the blockchain, go and link it to NFTs or whatever. But they don't need Foot Locker.
Right.
Like, I don't understand why a company like Hershey's wants a Super Bowl commercial. If I took over one of these companies, like people like Reese's Peanut Butter Cups or whatever, and I come there, we're not spending no money on ads. And let's see what our sales look like. Just give it to me for 1 year. Don't spend no money on ads. And let's just keep, what we spend, $20 million a year? We're gonna keep that $20 million, not on ads. Are our sales the same? Because that product has been around so long, like your customers you eating a Reese's? Oh yeah, here, you want one? Oh, I like how to say, like how are you really getting new customers, right? Because you've been around for so long, you're in every store already. I'm gonna come to the chocolate aisle, I know what I like, I'm gonna pick this up. Why do I gotta spend $20 million for you to keep doing the same thing, right? I wouldn't pay $7 million for a Super Bowl commercial on one of these. It's a waste of $7 million for 30 seconds. I know it's a tax write-off.
I'm gonna have to think about that one because.
But think about it, right? Like a Hershey's peanut butter cup.
So with Hershey's peanut butter, right?
Right. Reese's.
With they might do a collab. That's part of the future stuff.
Hey, it came here first.
Let's say the thing about it is they're always trying to get, the consumers that ain't even been born yet, right? Like mothers, right? That they sitting there craving chocolates.
But if your mother eats it and you see your mother, my mother drink Pepsi.
Yeah, the mother passes it down to the child.
Snuck it out the refrigerator.
Right.
Guess what? The mother made me the customer, not the commercial.
But the custom is your mother seen it on the Super Bowl commercial too. So part of it becomes like this ritual thing where, like, if it's not in the Super Bowl, then they project that company is no longer doing good. It's like if you see a person that's always wearing a chain, they no longer got it, man, what happened to your money, right? It's not that probably nothing happened at all, but customer perception is key. Like you're used to seeing Pepsi in ads and subliminal things. So when they're no longer there, you start to think that there's a decline. And so you create that association.
But where into that equation, right, comes into the point that people don't watch TV anymore.
Well, yeah, people who watch the Super Bowl, but not like TV.
Right, that's 28 million people, right, that watch the Super Bowl. It's billions of people in the world, right? Right, but think about it, like not even the Super Bowl, let's just say regular TV. Commercial. I say, you do a Super Bowl commercial, that'd be your one commercial for the year. Say you do that. Spend $7 million. Usually I spend $30 million. So just do the Super Bowl commercial. See if sales spiked after. Do the market research. Did we get more sales from February to June, and then go there from last quarter of last year, that same time?
A brand like yours would.
Huh?
A brand like yours would.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't know about them.
Right.
So when they see it, they're like, oh man, those shoes are cool.
So you saying that you believe a lot of brands have capped the market of brand exposure?
Yeah, I think certain brands definitely have. Like Hershey's, you got a fucking park in Pennsylvania.
But here's the dangerous thing though, is that I think that's where a lot of brands, if they get comfortable, then yes, right? Because these brands are going for growth, not maintenance.
Now, I'm not saying advertisement off. I'm talking about the TV, right? Because
I would have. You know what I would have did?
Like you could change that money and do something different.
Yeah,
right?
I would have
like
did
if
it more
you want to get the
creative.
kid, but now even it's gonna be hard. Like, see, if you want to get the kid, do it like the crack era outside. Have a Hershey stand. Here you go, free chocolate.
Yeah.
Right. But now schools don't even want candy.
Right.
In the schools, they want the cleaner, the juices, the waters. They don't want sodas because of the sugar and the fats.
I would, if I was Hershey, and y'all be stealing stuff from me. I know y'all can take it. I don't care. If I was Hershey, what I would have did, right? So let's say we didn't spend money on Super Bowl, and if we wanted to do on that today, of course Valentine's Day is coming, right? So I would have reached out to I would have had the team reach out to like 10,000 people and give them a deal. However we can spread that $7 million across as many TikTok influencers in the world. And everybody at one point in time has to drop it at the same time, right? We would have took over the internet and broke it.
There you go. See, now that's different. Everybody is still doing the same thing, right? Like look at school. They still teaching the same stuff they taught my mom in school. The world is changing. Like, yo, we got blockchains.
Right.
We not learning financial literacy in school.
That's a fact.
Yo, you have coding. They're not even doing that. The world has changed so much, and we still doing the same thing because it's the same thing like Netflix. Blockbuster, they didn't even see them come. Netflix. Now they putting the red boxes everywhere. Dollar a rental. Blockbuster, still $6. They're gonna rock with us because we Blockbuster.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Blockbuster closed. Guess what? Netflix has killed you because you didn't see it coming because you was used to everything being the same. Complacency. Even advertisement. Like what you said right there, oh, they can use that. That's gold. Look,
easy money.
All these influencers make a TikTok about like using the Hershey's, a new way to make a s'mores. Right. Call it more s'mores, right?
You can do your own thing.
Everybody use the same hashtag,
same
more
time.
s'mores. Like all of that'll cost them $100,000. Be like, look, you good? We're gonna give you 1,000. We're gonna give you 1,000. We're gonna give you 1,000. All of y'all, you gotta post at this time. Whatever region you in, it's gonna be the same time. And when you put hashtag Super Bowl,
right?
Guess what? Your $100,000 just made more money for your company, and now you got the younger kids because that's what you always need.
Or you know what they should have did? You could go to this is. So I get what you're saying, right? Because if you're $1 billion company, you're gonna do it because that just makes sense. It's in your budget, right? And if you're a startup company, if you got it in your budget, some companies, they don't actually see a spike in the sense of actual growth, right? They did 2022, they said if you'd have put $100 in mostly all the companies that advertise, right, you'd have lost money, right, on the stock market. So, you know, when you think about it from that standpoint, no. But if you think about it from the new branding standpoint, you got people like Mr. Beast. He has like 100+ million followers on Instagram, YouTube. If they would have gave him the check, right, that's a completely different vertical going directly to consumer. Because at any point in time, they can reach 100 million people, right? And if they're giving him money, which what they do with a lot of these brands is they give them the money to create content, which is the brand partnership and association and connection. But reaching 100 million people looks different. When it was just TV, you had to go direct there. When it was print newspaper, you had to get 100 million readers to, right? So now, reaching 100 million people, if they was to, and this is where I think, number one, black influencers and people who are very influential are very underappreciated. Same thing on YouTube, black channels that's reaching, like we get millions of views, right? We generate our own ads on our video side, right? Because I put my own products in there. Ain't nobody came with no big check, but we get millions of views and we have a very smart audience that likes to buy things as well. But they're not looking at it like that. We have to tell them the story of what it is on the back end for them to have an understanding.
Right.
So when, like you said, when they're so caught up in the old ways of doing things, they don't understand the new opportunities to where they can get a better reach and they can get a better return on their dollar. So this is why a lot of companies they end up firing people, having to reevaluate strategies When it works so long, it's just somebody's job to keep spending that money.
Yep.
They don't ever have to really say, you know, I did it because of this reason or that. They do it because it's tradition at this point.
Yeah.
They don't have to think of new creative ways because that's more riskier for their job position. If I do this and it fails, then that looks like on me. But if I do what's already been an industry standard, then that's a good spin.
Yeah.
So we don't have people in positions, because black media right now is in trouble because the white companies that promise black advertisement dollars are reneging on their promise. It happened during George Floyd. They started promising all of this equity and all of this money, and now they're pulling it back. Some are blaming Kanye West and Kyrie Irving, saying that, well, y'all should have put them in check, and they created a ripple effect, and they punish everybody, right? And so this is why you see a lot of people like, bro, chill out. You're gonna mess it up for everybody, because they literally do, right? And so when black media is dependent on white ad dollars, they control us. Right? And so if you don't learn how to partner with each other, right? Say, look, I'm about to get 1 million views. Let me put your business on there, right? And then let's do some affiliate, or let's do some partnership, or black businesses need to think about spending with black media platforms, right? So we don't have to go outside the company or community, so we owe each other, right? So now this is the community said they spending money. They're not gonna cancel me. They don't care what I say. They want me to say it.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
We gonna keep buying those black products.
Yeah.
We got a black media voice. We get black dollars. Everything good.
Yeah.
It's only when somebody outside the community want to control the voices and narratives in our community.
Exactly.
When we say something that benefits us, there's a problem because we're not the one that's actually backing us financially.
Right. You said that so perfectly. Like, for real. If that's your boss.
Yeah.
Or if you give too much power and you making people change the way they think, they're gonna shadow ban that. Because that's what they don't want. They don't want the cattle getting free.
Right.
You feel me? We the cash cows.
Right.
Right. But when our thinking doesn't align with their dollars, it's a wrap.
And that's why, high level conversations work, because it's what's needed. Not because that's what they want to see out there. It works because the way we did it, how we partnered with EYL, and the team that I got, and the way that we put it together in the visionary scale. It's because every time I do something, people always tell me it ain't gonna work. And that's when I know it's gonna work.
Yeah.
Right? A small mind supposed to tell you a big idea ain't supposed to work. They small-minded.
Yeah, they projecting their fears on you.
If I talk to a visionary, they go see it. They can see how far I see. I get what you're trying to do over there. Yeah, that's gonna rock. They might try to tell you to switch up a couple of details based on their expertise or opinion, but they're not gonna tell you a big idea not gonna work, right? So we're able to get millions and millions of views. We're not talking about gossip, not talking about rumors, not talking about ignorance. Everything is of value. And so, as I said before, our only spin that we ask for the person that's in the high level conversation society is to spend time with us. Right? And that time that you spend is quality time.
Right.
You're getting the ROI on that.
Right.
You're learning something. You're getting inspired, right? You can have your children come in and listen at the same time. The whole family can sit around and watch this and be like, yo, I learned something. That gave me inspiration. A celebrity can sit like, damn, I should create my own brand, or I should partner with a black brand, right? I could think of different ways. Companies that are in corporate be like, damn, they didn't give me, they talked about us, but really they gave us a consultation. Right. So that's the beauty of when black creatives get around and we sit openly, we're giving everybody the game.
It's facts.
That's what we do. Revolutionaries was giving white America the game on when y'all stop being racist on how to sell to black people, right? Whether that we did it intentionally or not, they sit back, learn, study, and be like, okay, lesson learned. I'm gonna move forward, right? We have to do that same thing, right? But when we value each other, we be like, damn, this is better than HBO, man. This is fire. This is way better than the Marys. I got the science on, man.
Right.
I'm mad. I got on the off whites. I'm taking these off. I'm about to go make sure I figure out my size and get every color, because that's the intentionality I want to have. You feel me? Like when you see me wearing them, I'm doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
Right. Black business can't be on accident. Economic prosperity can't be on accident. You got to say every single day, I want ours to be better, because every other community, they do it on purpose, right? The beautiful thing about the Jewish community is how intentional they are.
Bruh, I grew up with them.
I grew up where I stay at. It's nothing but Jewish people. Their intentionality as a people is their power.
Yeah.
We always talked about the Asian people intentionality, right? Them having Asian communities set up all across the planet Earth. That's powerful. when we start making black business this stigma as if it's a charity,
Yeah.
right? Instead of it's prosperity,
Yup.
it's wealth, then that's when we have an issue. And I'm gonna give us credit. We're doing good. We're doing better.
Yeah. It's a lot more now. You've noticed.
Yeah.
Because even with the stuff that happened with Kyrie, people get to see.
Right.
Like, hold up, wait a minute. He just lost his contract for hate speech and he didn't say a word.
Right.
That's crazy.
Right.
Right. And you get to see it. So now you're getting all these little glimpses of how they really think about us.
Right.
How they use us.
Right.
Right. Still give you crumbs.
Right.
Right. For example, Steph Curry got $1 billion lifetime deal with Under Armour.
Mm-hmm.
So does LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
I think they got ripped off.
Mm-hmm.
If you make this company $1 billion a year, and then 20 years, we watching Michael Jordan right now, 20, 30 years since he played, still be able to sell those same shoes. LeBron going to sell them shoes. They're going to make $1 billion a year, $1 billion
Right.
a billion. So what are you really getting? Are you getting a 1% of what you ever made Nike, and they give you 1%, and you happy because it's $1 billion?
Right. And it's lifetime, so it's a
In
no
his
compete.
lifetime. So you're not going to get another $1 billion from it. It's just $1 billion. They can just give you a check every year, or maybe $20 million for the rest of your life, whatever. Right? But whereas you're making them triple that every year,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to make Michael Jordan's 50, almost 60 years old right now. Right? He's like 57, 58. They still making that money off him, more money off of him than he did when he played.
Yeah, way more. But
$1 billion. And we just seen Kanye make 3, 4 in 8 years with Adidas.
Come on, we
off
know-
of 11%.
11%.
People don't really understand
So
how
much
crazy
is
that is.
And so I told people that breakdown. So y'all talking about he's not a billionaire, but he was only a billionaire based on evaluation, based
Yeah.
on these metrics. And
Like how
systems.
you said, we don't never see
Right.
the
future
we
trend
don't look at
growth.
the future. His
Like,
was
no.
based on if all of these deals he would have did
Carried
his
out the
contract.
term,
If he
yeah.
didn't play out his term, he would have got that minus the taxes that they're going to take from it. So his evaluation, because evaluations can change in the split.
Right.
And we've seen it when. That's why, I said my numbers. You're like, yeah, that's a $500 million company. I say $100 million.
Yeah.
Right. Because I am projecting of what's going to happen, but I'm not going to go to all the way project, because then you got to think, oh, maybe 1 year we go into a depression, people not buying shoes. I'm going to lose a lot of money that year. You know what I'm saying? There's different things that we don't see right now, those variables. And that was the thing with Kanye. Like, he's still worth $400 million, but he might not be worth that because of all of the Hitler speech. A lot of his money, $100 million of it, is his music. And I think his music catalog is worth more than $100 million.
His catalog worth $1 billion.
I think they
Ain't nobody-
underestimated it. But now it's his catalog if he doesn't change his image, right? Because it's only valuable what they can sell. If the people who own it, they're white, most of them Jewish people own the music industry. Look, Scooter Braun, they're buying all of that up. Now, if they don't like you, they can
But
inch your
here's the
music,
beautiful
right?
thing. See, even with the blockchain, he can just sell direct to consumer.
Yeah, but he has to own it.
Right, but I'm
He has
just
to own his
saying as far as
masters.
the idea of music.
Right.
At first it was who's going to buy it, like
Right.
these huge companies. If and I believe he's supposed to get his masters back after a certain amount of time.
Yes,
right?
I think every artist, right, after a certain amount of years or
Well,
something.
I think after every artist, it's like I don't know
20
how many
years, I
years,
think
but
it
with
was.
his, I believe it was a clause in there that says that his masters will return in like 10 years or whatever it may be.
So yeah, that's what blockchain is, right?
So let's say if he then say I don't want to sell it to Scooter Braun or some fun company. What if I say I want to give the consumer, the fan, the opportunity to own my music, right? And so every time it gets played, every time you play it, you get paid. How much money could he sell if he fractionalized ownership
A lot.
from his whole catalog? That's $1 billion is what I mean.
I think
That's
so.
way more than $1 billion.
I think his catalog is other than Michael Jackson and all of that, but like as far as the hip hop artists, I think his catalog has to be the most expensive one, right?
Yeah.
He has so many hits, like it has to be.
Right.
But also it has to go in that too is he hurt a lot of his own people, right? Like just things he said. He hurt black people, right? Like the George Floyd stuff, right? Like you lose respect and things like that. Like we seen what we saw, right? I understand you have a mental illness, but that stuff still hurts people. People got to forgive you, right? Can you get back that? Because we didn't care about, a lot of us didn't care about the
Right.
other stuff he's talking about. But when you start attacking black people, with your rhetoric, then now you're hurting the people who was championing you, who was riding for you, who would still buy your stuff regardless. And now when you take us out of the equation, it's like once he's got to get that back. He's got to Because we're very forgiving people.
That's what I was just about to say.
Yeah,
Well,
we very forgiving people.
You know what I mean?
And
We
I
can't wait
always
to
say
forgive.
this. I've said this on Instagram Live. I said Kanye West has the biggest get out of jail free card. Listen, I was off my meds.
Right.
That's not how I feel.
When a person like, so this is what I want to project. We forgive rappers for killing people.
Right.
Right.
They
They can beat people. They can do everything. Kanye West, he said words, propaganda, right?
Right.
He's made in the moment, off the cuff, tactless mistakes, if you will, right? Whether they was purposeful or not. And so that's why nobody can say we can't forget Kanye West, because your favorite rappers talk about killing people and you've had no issue with that.
No, it's about killing black people.
Yes.
Brag about it.
Right.
And then the white company plays a commercial for Nabisco cookies after the
Right.
song. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. To me, that's
if
insanity.
I'm putting that by the same moral standard, right? I ain't got no issue with it.
Right.
If I'm
it's
putting it by
worse.
that moral standard, I ain't got no issue with them, period. But, you know, just in that sense of like, we're very hypocritical and very selective, right, with our anger.
Facts.
Right? And it doesn't make sense when you're looking at the reason why, right? So if you're a rapper and in most of your songs, you got beefs with cats, you talk about killing cats, and then the next day, you know, you protesting for Black Lives Matter.
Right.
I don't give you no points for that.
No,
You know what
no.
I'm saying? Because your music is anti-black.
Right.
Right? And so some of his rhetoric, some people believe was anti-black, but it's the movement, right? That's the
Right.
question.
Right.
And so the culture right now has movements that we celebrate that's anti-black. And so until we read that, we can't be hypocritical and judge nobody and try to counsel nobody, because, you know, that's that whole throwing stones in a glass house.
Yep.
Like, who is around in this industry perfect?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, from the top down to here, like, who's perfect? You're a fan picking preference on selectivity on how you want to choose your bias. But in reality,
I love
Kanye West has not done worse than 99% of these rappers.
No,
right?
that's a
Like,
fact.
so that's where I like to get people to just think critically.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Once you're thinking emotionally, you like, well, yeah, whatever, I don't want to hear nothing because I only want things that confirm my bias. But when you're thinking critically, all right, I actually agree with you rationally. You're right. Then a person still jump back to their bias, but I still want. I'm like, but that's why we can't make certain progress.
Right.
Because other cultures can think rationally and critically and move
And we're
forward.
overly critical of each other.
Right.
Like, we tear each other down way worse than they do us.
Look at Balenciaga. The culture down there forgave them already.
Oh, they did. They did. The pedophiles.
Cats is
Straight-
wearing Balenciaga again. Imagine if that was a black designer and they came
I'll be
out
over.
and they had sexual predation, a child, you know, on their stuff. Man, everybody, man, we don't want to hear
done.
nothing
They can't
from
do
you.
that.
Now, let me teach you something about branding. You understand me? And reality and politics. Now, Balenciaga recently apologized for having an offensive shoot that was controversially seen doing nothing else but peddling pedophilia. You understand me? And they apologized and said that they're going to sue the creator. Now, Kanye West came out and spoke against it, saying that celebrities are afraid to say something because they got masters. Shaq came out and spoke against him, but didn't speak to the facts of the situation. These brands have so much power and control over the minds of our people that even when it comes to something like protecting children and standing up for the rights of young children and making sure that we don't normalize things like pedophilia, we wipe it away and act like it's another thing at another day. But the reality of it is that I would rather wear a White Lives Matter shirt than a Balenciaga shirt. You understand me? Because at least that's not connected to child sex, enslavement, or child pedophilia. And they're trying to normalize these things. And that's why it's important for us to have our own brand constructs, right? It's important to us the same way we look at their faults and we look at the issues that they do and we like, you know what? I'm still gonna rock with them. We have to do that to our people. You understand me? If you can forgive Balenciaga, imagine what it's like to forgive our people, continue working with each other, unite, and continue to build brands that circulate the dollar within our communities. If I see you wearing Balenciaga now, you understand me? I know that it's just because you like pedo wear and you don't mind putting that out there. You don't mind if the brands that you celebrate and that you support pushes pedophilia. So you gotta look in the mirror and you gotta think about yourself. Keep putting that pedo wear on. Balenciaga suckers.
Them big ugly rubber boots, the ones that Kanye West was wearing, those Balenciagas. And then now another company came and made some red clown ones. Like,
right. So, you know, to close this out, man, number one, this has been a very powerful conversation. And you know, some of the key points that I want people to really participate and take from it is about designing yourself, expressing yourself from a true standpoint, not just what you're sold, but based on who you are, right? Changing the way that we look at, you know, what it means to be a designer, a black designer. That word black should never be in connection of a connotation of negativity, charity, something of lower, right? Whether you like the word black or not, you have to start establishing anything that's connected to us of a higher power, of a higher notion, of a higher aspiration and inspiration. That's what our goal is to be, right? Like in this culture, the goal is to decrease the anti-blackness and increase the pro-blackness. That's the aspiration for us. When we talk unity and we talk wealth, we're talking pro-blackness, because you can't get there without being pro-black, because it represents self-love. I love my people so much, I'm always shopping with us. I want that dollar to circulate. I want that child of that mother who started that business, I want their child to grow. I want to see them get the right education. I want them to have the right security, protection. So therefore I'm shopping because I know every dollar is going to the benefit of my people, and I love myself so much, and I'm reflecting that in the way I move. I reflect that in what I wear. I'm in my music videos and I'm wearing all these black businesses and brands because bruh look like me. And I love myself so much, I'm gonna wear it from somebody who look like me that come from my struggle, because I know I'm helping a household. Then that's reverberating and creating generational wealth. You're able to hire more people. That's changing the look of the neighborhoods. We can buy our own homes, we become our own bosses and landlords. We look at black businesses and we see that, damn, I could go spend this budget I have for luxury with them, or I could go to my brother Rich God or Rich Fresh or Able Self or Sire Collective, or go to Milano or Dope Era or Crown Society, and whoever I didn't mention, all y'all, put your name up there. You know what I'm saying? But I want us to really internalize that aspirational feeling that we have towards everybody else, towards self.
Thanks.
And you may be in love with the fashion culture, the European culture, the flying out to London, the putting all these ugly clothes on, right? Right? Let your brother make something ugly and put it on. You know what I'm saying? If you go wear something wild because a European fashion designer made it and they told you this is couture, this is chic, this is whatever, they just throw these names at you, right? And they be like, wear it. You know what I'm saying? And they got you looking like a fool, and then you tell everybody, y'all don't understand this. Well, let your brother put on some goofy clothes on you if that's the case. You know what I'm saying? Let them design.
It won't work because it got to be $10,000. They be like, yeah, I spent $10,000 on this, so yeah, you don't understand that.
Right. At least when you looking like a fool, it still benefits us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
You're not looking like a fool financially.
Facts.
So if you just complain, or if you bragging about, man, you know, I went to so and so and I done bought $50,000 bag, and guess what? It was black owned. That's a different kind of brag, because you literally saying that I'm going into the construction of our future, right? Like, I'm putting black families through college with this, right? Like, you can go buy an Hermes bag, or you can spend it with a black designer and put a family through an education and help them build their business and employ black people, right? So it's intentionality in this thinking, and then it goes into creativity. We have to create meaningful designs. You have to understand who we are and the rhythm of what we come from. We're a very cosmically creative people. It's an infinite battery of creativity. We never go run out. But it's dangerous when we get to a place where we forget that. We forget that we come from all this royalty, creativity, innovation, origination, and we start doing plagiarism.
Right.
And we just copy and waiting for the original to come out with something new. I told my team once before, I said, let's not drop nothing in a while. You know, let's not put on no education nothing while I want to see what other people do. Then I didn't see no new topics spurring up. I didn't see people talking about new things because they waiting on the originator to come out with something they can plagiarize and copy. And so it's cool to be influential, but don't always wait on the influence. Influence yourself, be inspired.
Facts.
It's better to be inspirational than it is influential, right? When you're talking about helping people become their true self. So I want to inspire people, right? So therefore you do it your way, right? And you're taking it further, not just taking it from me. Right? And so that's the power. And last but not least, my brother Sire Collective, and I'm naming you by your brand, by the way, you know what I'm saying? Because that's the name that I want everybody to have in their mind, right?
Yes, sir.
When you putting on your shoes, right, and you go look at his website, right, and you thinking about, you know, what you're gonna buy next month or next week for your girl, for your guy, for the next holiday, when you going out on these trips, or you rocking a red carpet, or you putting it in a movie, or you putting it in a music video, make sure, right, number one is somebody that's from us. Take some of that budget and spend it with us. But specifically, this brand that this brother is building is $1 billion brand, right? I speak that already into existence because I'm looking at the future projection and the trends and what it's already worth. I always say Kanye West is still worth $1 billion because his ability to generate billions, right? That's the value. And the ability to generate ideas, that's super valuable. But they don't want to come to us and tell us our true value, so we never know and we don't ask for it next time. So they don't come into black communities with their VC funds and give us hundreds and 200s and 300 millions of dollars for our ideas. They do that. They risk money on each other all day long. They'll reach $1 billion on an idea all day long without proving concepts, sales, or anything. So what does that tell us? We got to do the same thing. The blueprint is taking a risk on each other, investing in each other, partnering with each other, building with each other. After that, we no longer look at Black Wall Street, right, as, this anomaly, because then it exists in our everyday activities. I'm 19 Keys. It's been your high level conversations. Tap in. My brother.
That was dope, baby.
I'm 19 Keys, and this is high level conversation. Tap in with the guys.
With growing my company Saya and building it the way I wanted to, literally the first thing I had to do was say, I don't care what nobody says. I don't care what nobody thinks, because the only way this is going to work if it's what I want it to be. So with that, I just thought about how I came up in New York and what did I like about my childhood and things like that. So in a lot of stuff that I do, I bring my childhood with me. I bring my neighborhoods that I grew up in with me. Things that we thought was dope. Having stuff that didn't look like the other stuff that was on the shelf. So that's the type of things that I always wanted to do. But then it becomes to the point where, people want instant success. Real success don't happen overnight. Like I started, literally, if I want to say my journey as a sneaker designer would have started in '97 when I was in Queensborough Community College customizing Jordans, just so I could be different. And not even telling anybody that I was customizing them. I was saying I got them sent to me from Germany because my sister was in the army. But it was that, the stand out, to not fit in, right? Because we're all designed, we have different fingerprints for a reason. So we should always want to stand out instead of fit in, right? So that's like my whole mind state. Like I'm not gonna let nobody tell me what I should be doing when I design myself, right? So a lot of people, this fashion game, like Keys was saying, is like, it's not hard. Not even any company, you start a company, 90% of them, they're gonna fail. I had a store. I would say my store failed, right? Because it just wasn't, things just wasn't right. You gotta have parking. I didn't think about that. We didn't have parking for customers. These are different mistakes that when you start, you're just so excited to get that thing that you forget, like, hold up, wait, where the customers gonna park at? We downtown Oakland. Can't nobody just pull up here? I didn't think about how they break windows down there. All the kind of crazy stuff that made it harder for me to succeed in that realm, right? But I didn't let it deter me. That's the thing. Failure is only a stepping stone to learning, right? So every failure, you got to take out the learning in it. And if you don't, then you're never going to succeed, because you're going to constantly keep making that same mistake, or that failure is going to make you never want to make another mistake, and then you just don't try, right? Because if you don't try, right, how do you know how far you could ever go? If you let somebody else project on you their fears and you take on their fears and make them become your own, then you start letting doubt creep in, right? And why do you want doubt when it's your dream? See, this is my passion. I'm doing exactly what I wanted to do. And years ago, I didn't even think this was possible. But with research, reading, researching, and studying, I was able to do exactly what it was with my brand that I wanted to be. And every cycle that comes around, it's a whole new thing to learn. Like today, I learned about blockchain. I learned the right way to use NFTs. So I learned a lot today that I'm gonna take and I'm gonna actually go study, because I like to learn new stuff, right? Like, what's the point of living and breathing and being, and it's a blessing to be able to be alive every day, to wake up, and you don't take advantage of that. Every day you should learn something. If you don't learn something, you are harming yourself, regardless of what it is. You can learn it could be a new word in another language. It could be a new color. It could be the word Pantone, anything, because any of those things is only going to improve to what you want to improve on and where you're trying to go on your journey. And my journey is still being written right now, but I would not have been here and where I'm at right now if I thought that it was okay to listen to what other people say, if I thought that if I made a mistake or if I fell, if I didn't make as much money as I thought I was gonna make, and I thought, you know what, it's over, let's wrap it up. You know, that's not it. Failure is a part of success. That's what I leave you with.
Number one, I see myself in a brother, right? I consider myself to be a creative. I consider myself to be a designer. I aspire to some of the things that he has in his accolades, being a shoe designer, a glasses wear designer, right? I haven't had the ability to completely focus on a life as a creative, to just hone in 100% on my passions. I like to draw, I paint, I do art, I design. Everything that you see that I have, for the most part, I designed it, right? And so there's a special connection that I have when I look at designers and artists and creatives, right? They live in pure off their human conscious God energy, right? They're conjuring things from nothingness and producing them into reality, right? And from their mind, they're allowing us to express ourselves, right? And there's a beautiful dynamic that goes into that. I always talk about Emory Davis as a designer of the Black Panthers. He allowed people to connect to the movement, right? When they looked at the art, they created an emotional connection to the movement and what it meant to them, right? So therefore, they was able to take that movement home by seeing the images and pictures. Everybody did not understand the big talk and the literacy of the words of the Constitution and all of that, but they can understand when they see a Black woman with her fist up, right, and the police trying to beat her, or they see the spirit of the Black Panther. Designing our movements is just as important as starting a movement, right, and being invigorated with passion towards it. We have to design the way the movement looks like, because that creates interaction. There's a Black man who designed the doorknob. So when we walk in there, we're doing it based on his design. Right, there's a Black man who designed, I believe, the what's that called? The street lights, right? And a lot of design comes from necessity, and some of it just comes from pure vision, right, and wisdom. We want to redesign reality in our own image, right? And so when we have our designers, it's allowing us to pull from our own people, right? Let me wear my brother's mind on me. You understand me? Because that's a reflection of myself. We don't always have to jump to another culture which cannot represent us to try to find representation and expression within it. So I believe designers have a beautiful role that allow the world to express itself. And so as a people and as a leader, as a person that pushes movement, if we design the movement in the correct way, it makes it much easier for us to flow. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was a designer when he told people to put on bow ties and black suits and cut their hair and shave and show up in a particular manner. And it worked to the perfection of redeeming and reforming a people. The military is designed when it comes to uniform, right, to create a certain, discipline within it, to create qualities of rank, the psychology of colors, right? Everything that's added to it is intentionality and even the aesthetic of it. If you study Dieter Rams' principles of design, he was a German engineer that was one of the top engineers, and Apple took from him so that they can design their product with minimum aesthetic as well. And when most people think about Apple, it increases creativity because they created a brand based on creative thinking, right? So I want us to look at our culture. When we look at the hood, how can we redesign the hood? How can we design neighborhoods that allow us to flourish? How can we go and redesign curriculums that allow us to educate ourselves that's not based on, the school systems that we have right now, but how do we pull out the brilliance of our children, right? So when I'm looking at the designers, I'm looking at, people who actually design, right? People put on designer, but they don't realize there's architects behind that making it. They put in together ratios and psychology and neuroscience that's added into why you buy it, right? What you put on. All of these things matter. So when we become intentional as far as how do we create progress for the future, how do we build wealth, how do we design wealth? How do you design $1 billion company? How do you design better families, right? How do you design better mental health in our communities? How do you change the color psychology and the ability to allow people to express themselves? Because everything in our environment was designed to keep us in our lower nature, so we become consumers, stuck into egoism, so we can be controlled by that left brain activity. So that's why I like to lock in with designers, because they are shaping the consciousness of the world.
A high level conversation is growth. Because after that conversation, if you haven't grown in knowledge, right, or just even just the environments that you're in from where you were at before, right, that right there alone is golden because, so like, yeah, I make more money. I get in close places. Like I said, you know what? I want to network more. How can I network and tax write-off? So I bought season tickets courtside because people who sit courtside, they got money and they don't look like it, right? Especially when they don't look like us. And from there, I found partnerships where people want me to invest in a cannabis company, different things like 3-year return, where now I didn't even know these things were available, right? But because I sit where I sit, you're interested to these people. They see you and they're interested. Who's this guy? Because I know he's got to have money if he can afford those seats, right? But then now y'all have these conversations too. And then you realize we not so much different. We have a lot in common. And then you start talking business. Like, look, I know a apartment building is going to go up for sale. It's a pocket listing before it hit MLS. If you're interested, you get these type of conversations going now, right? So a high level conversation to me really is just growth, right? And knowledge. One thing I love learning something new. Like, I feel like if I'm not learning, I'm not growing. So, and I know that one thing is I don't ever think I'm the smartest person in the room. I always want to be the most, just aggressive listener in the room because I listen and I store. Like this whole interview, I'm storing hella shit, right? That he's saying because I'm like, yo, I didn't even know that. I didn't even think about that, right? But to be able to, have those kind of conversations, especially now I'm so busy, I really get to be around other like-minded entrepreneurs or influencers because I'm a workaholic. So to be able to have these type of conversations wherever they happen at is always a blessing. So if you are a part of a high-level conversation, consider yourself blessed, but make sure, last but not least, make sure you grow and you gain something from there. And also pass on knowledge as well, because knowledge is how you really create that partnership.
The issue is you don't believe in yourself. You don't believe you can learn, make some money, understand a new skill set, jump into a course, a community, and all of a sudden your problems start to go away. No, you think because of your education and your environment, certain things weren't made for you. Or you think you too gangster to learn this. You understand me? Or you think you too old to learn it. Or you think maybe you don't know enough about technology, you're not interested in it whatsoever. Or maybe you think just certain things are just not for you, yet you got all of these goals, aspirations, things that you think that you're privileged to in the world. But that's not the way the world works. The world works for those who work for the world and those who work for themselves. See, once you start to develop the power of the mind, then you understand that it's about mentalism. How to be able to take those thoughts that are inside your head and bring them outward. But first, you have to be able to bridge the gap between where you want to be. The distance is determined by what you know and what you don't know. And the speed in which you get there is determined by your own willpower and your ability to execute in your work ethic. See, I don't want to do anything for you. I want to give you the tools to be able to do for self. But I also understand that the world handicapped us. They gave us a school system. They gave us learning disabilities. It took us away from our creative learning. How to be able to learn on the go and to become critical thinkers. At a certain point in time, everybody just stopped thinking. You just stopped thinking. The other day, I was listening to some advice on social media, and I heard one opinion. That kind of stuff, right? Then, scrolling down, I saw somebody else talk about the same subject, give an opposing opinion, and I actually had to stop myself and think about it. Wait a minute. Both of these people are not right. The problem was I didn't want to critical think for myself, so I took the first influence that I got. Because I didn't feel like thinking about it on the subject. So when you hear about subjects of financial literacy, you hear about blockchain technologies and cryptocurrencies and wealth building systems, sometimes when a person tells you something negative, it becomes your excuse and your reason why not to execute. But see, I got a large family, and I don't let nobody make excuses around me. I employ my family. I employ designers and developers, and I pay them tens of thousands of dollars. Why? Because they can do things that I can't do. Now, without skill sets, that's not much value that you have, because now your value is determined by the market. But when you have skill sets that nobody can take away, you always have value no matter where you are in the world and what time it is of the day. See, develop a skill nobody can take away, and you have a value that nobody can strip away. When we talk about wealth, I don't want it to be some pie in the sky idea. I don't want it to be some 10-year future. I want it to be now, because the future is now. Because they've built everything that we need, so you just have to learn how to use it, and we're gonna teach you how to use it in the BWO. We're gonna teach you how to use it in this block world order. You understand me? So now you can get off your ass and use your mind and get you some money. Use your mind to change the infrastructure of your life. But guess what? Nothing works if you don't work. So yes, we built the foundation, but it's up to you to stand on it yourself. Come and join the block world order. See what we have to offer. Now you can take those goals you have in your head and make them obtainable by the skills you possess in your mind. Tap in.